All right, y'all. We give praise, esteem, and honor to the Most High Yahuwah B'Shem Yahushua this day. And let's look at John 5:39. John 5:39. John 5:39. And it says, search the scriptures, for in them you think you have eternal life, and they are they which testify of me, and you will not come to me that you might have life. I receive not honor from men, but I know you, that you have not the love of Alahym in you. He said, I know it. You ain't got it. So let's look at Jeremiah chapter 3 by verse 16. Jeremiah 3 and about verse 13. What do you want? Go get it. Oh, you can't have that. You leave that where it's at. That's okay. Thank you, Alahym. You're okay. 3 and 13. Only acknowledge thy iniquity that thou hast transgressed against Yahuwah thy Alahym, and scatter thy ways to the strangers under every green tree. And you have not obeyed thy voice, saith Yahuwah. Turn, O backsliding children, saith Yahuwah, for I am married unto you. And I will take you one of a city and two of a family, and I will bring you to Zion. And I will give you pastors according to my heart, which shall feed you with knowledge and understanding. That's the key thing that this man just said. That he said he'd give you shepherds or teachers after his own heart. Not after how you think that you want them to be, but after Yahuwah's own heart. Meaning after his own mind, his own layup. This is the type of man that he said he wanted. See, sometimes we get caught up in the thought processes that we want the men to be how we want them to be. When Yahuwah said, I'm going to raise up men after my heart. So when you have a problem with the people that he raised up, you actually got a problem with Yahuwah, because he the one raised them up, because he said they're according to mine heart. And we're just going to look at that. What Lev means, it just means the inner man, the mind, the will, the heart, and the key thing, understanding. The mind, the knowing, the thinking, the reflection, the inclination, the resolution, the determination of will, the conscience, the heart, the seat of appetites, emotions, and passions, and seat of courage. So this man said that he'll raise up pastors after his own understanding, after his heart, men that think like he thinks. You know what I'm saying? Now you sit back and think about that. Men who thinks like he thinks. Because he said David was a man after my own heart. So this man say David thinks like I think. David moves how I move. And this is what he said he would raise up. Men that move how he moves and thinks how he thinks and operates how he operates. That is something to consider. But Psalms 111 and 10, because he said they'll give you understanding. I'm going to make this real brief with this aspect of what we're looking at. Psalms 111 and 10, and then 1 John 3 and 23. This ain't nothing that we ain't never looked at before, but will stir your minds up, stir your pure minds up by way of remembrance, and just talk about this here about with understanding. Hello? Hello? All right. The fear of Yahuwah is the beginning of wisdom. A good understanding have all they that do his commandments, his praise endure forever. So he say, a good understanding have those who do his commandments. Well, let's look at what his commandment would be. 1 John 3 and 23. Because you know what the law say. I'll raise up a prophet like unto you, and him ye shall hear. And whoever will not hear him, hear the words that I put in his mouth, I will require it of him. His commandment is for you to hear this man and to do what he tells you to do. Because you got to remember, Yahushua is a pastor after Yahuwah's own heart. And he came to feed you with knowledge and understanding. And then Yahushua said, whomsoever receive whomsoever I send, receive me. So he's going to send men that are after his heart. How else can anybody attain and have understanding unless they be a man after Yahuwah's own heart? They have to be. Or he's not going to give it to him, or the man just lied to you. Because he said the fear of Yahuwah is the beginning of wisdom. He said they'll feed you knowledge and understanding. The book also says in Proverbs, the fear of Yahuwah is the beginning of knowledge. So the reverence, the honor, the fear, the respect for Yahuwah, like Troy did with last week, that's how you're going to begin to get knowledge. Through that knowledge, you're going to begin to understand Yahuwah. That's why a lot of people get stopped and don't get the understanding. Because they never feared Yahuwah. So they get a little bit of knowledge. What's down, baby? So they don't get anything past that. Because they don't have a mind, they don't have a heart after Yahuwah's heart. Because he's looking for somebody that has a heart after his. That's why he say when you look at that layout, it means literally understanding. That means these will be men who understand Yahuwah. And you turn around and you look at Ezra, and he opened up the scriptures for him in the book of Nehemiah, said he calls them to understand the reading. He calls the people at that particular time to understand exactly what the book was talking about and what he was trying to express and tell them. When we say who, we talking about Yahuwah. 3 and 22 though. 3 and 21. 1 John 3 and 21. Beloved, if our heart condemn us not, then we have confidence towards Alahym. And whatsoever we ask, we receive of him, because we keep his commandments and do those things that are pleasing in his sight. And this is his commandment, that we should believe on the name of his son, Yahushua HaMashiach, and love one another as he gave us commandment. And he that keep his commandments dwell in him, and he in him. And hereby we know that he abide in us by the Ruach which he have given us. You sit back and you look at it. Let's go back to Ezekiel chapter 1 real fast. He say we do know him and dwell in him by the Ruach that he has given us. Now let's just look at something in Ezekiel chapter 1. What is it? Probably about verse 10. What it is? Verse 10. Just verse 10. What we want. Verse 10 is what we want. Verse 11 is fine. 1 and 11. Thus were their faces, and their wings were stretched upward. 2 wings, every one were joined one to another, and 2 covered their bodies. Now hold on. Let me deal with that right there. He said the 2 wings are joined together. And then the 2 wings, other 2 wings covered their bodies. So let's look at this. And let's look at Ephesians chapter 4 and verse 4. And you just hold this Ezekiel chapter 1. No. You ain't holding no more. Ephesians 4 and 4. 4 and 3 actually. Endeavoring to keep the unity of the Ruach and the bond of Shalom. There is one body and one Ruach, even as you are called, and one hope of your calling. One master, one faith, and one immersion. One Alahym and Father of all, who is above all and through all and in you all. So when we look at these 2 wings joined together, it also takes us back to when we looked at Leviathan, or even that sea monster in Ezekiel, about how all the scales were joined together and no air could get in between. So when we look at these 2 wings of this creature being joined together, it also takes us back to the law with Adam and Eve. That a man should leave his father and mother and cleave to his wife, and they should be one flesh. Or the unity or the knitness of the body. You know what I'm saying? So when we sit back and we look at that and we look at it with understanding, we can see all these things. Like when these men were arguing about, when he said in Numbers that he would kill you all as one man. Or he say the congregation came together as one man. Because will we all be knit together in Mashiach through his wings or his coverings. And that being knit together with that covering is just symbolic of him with his arms on the stake. He can cover you in his blood. And when we look at also the fact that he talking about, what did they say with those wings? They were knit together with something else. Hold on. And they covered the bodies. That's what it was. And when you sit back and you look at it, it's the same token. You could come back to Ezekiel chapter 1. It's the same token where, because I don't want to spend too much time on it. I started to think do it, and we're not going to do it like that. When he tell you in Revelation 16 and 15 to keep your garment, lest you be walk naked and they see your shame. And you look at when Adam and Eve covered themselves with the fig leaves. Those wings are the covering of your body, or the safe haven, or the covering of your iniquities through Mashiach. And this will go into, when Most High willing, we go into greater detail with those animals. Because we may hit the lion at night. I think we hit the man and the eagle. We leave the ox to stand alone. That ox symbolic of that sacrifice to cover your sins. And that's why you see these wings as a covering body. Because it say 2 wings cover. So you got 2 wings covering with the man and the lion and 2 wings covering with the ox and the eagle. So when you sit back and you look at it being knit together and then being covering the body, you know that the ox and the eagle cover the sins of the people. This is what Mashiach come to do, to cover you. But let's go back to Ezekiel chapter 1. The main premise, what we came up for. So when we look at verse 11, or reread it before we read verse 12. I don't think that's the one that I used the first time. All right, verse 12. But I'll reread verse 11. Thus were their faces and their wings were stretched upward. 2 wings of every one were joined one to another, and 2 covered their bodies. And they went every one straight forward. You already said every one went straight forward. Whither the Ruach was to go, they went. They turned not when they went. Now sit there and think about what he just said. I'm going to read verse 20. Drop down to verse 22. Not verse 22, but verse 20 as well. He said, wheresoever the Ruach was to go, they went. Thither was their Ruach to go. Their wheels were lifted up over against them, for the Ruach of the living creature was in the wheels. Now again, he makes this statement that wherever the Ruach went, that's where they went. And then also when we read in verse 12, it said they went straight forward. Wherever the Ruach went, they went, and they didn't turn whichever way they went. Now this is going to be important. Say wherever the Ruach is, that's where they went. They didn't turn wherever they went. Now see again, we talk about understanding. And for time's sake, I'm not going to hit all that. I mentioned it before we started, but I'll just preface this. In Romans 1 and 20, about 1 and 31, 1 and 32, it said to be without understanding, you are worthy of death. Every time we pray, we mention that 1 John chapter 5 and verse 20. That we know the Son of Alahym has given us an understanding, that we may know him that is true, and that we are in him that is true. Even our Son, Yahushua HaMashiach. This is the true Alahym and eternal life. We know Luke 24 and 44. This man said, these are the things that are written in the law of Moses, and in the prophets, and in the Psalms concerning me. Then he opened their scriptures, opened their understanding that they might understand the scriptures. Understanding the scriptures is understanding how it is talking about Mashiach and how it relates to the plan of salvation that Abba Yahuwah planned from the foundation of the world through Yahushua HaMashiach. And without that understanding, you ought to die because you have not kept that commandment which he gave, which is to believe on his Son, which is why you would not have a good understanding because you don't keep that commandment. You know what I'm saying? So we have to look at how vital understanding is. And you know how vital understanding is? Because it says to receive the Ruach, you got to believe on the Son as the scripture have said, to become a son of Alahym. That's what he said you had to do. He that liveth and believeth in me shall never taste death. Believe thou this. So wherever the Ruach goes, it said they went straight. Matthew 7 and 13 say they went straight and they did not deviate. Matthew 7 and 13. That's why Solomon told you better ponder the path of your feet, not go to the left hand nor to the right. People sit back and say, after this Matthew 7 and 13, get Proverbs 3 and 5. Matthew 7 and 13. He said they went straight forward. Straight forward. Enter ye in at the straight gate. For wide is the gate and broad is the way that lead to destruction, and many there be which go in thereof. Because straight is the gate and narrow is the way which lead unto life, and there be few that find it. So he say the straight gate leads to life, right? I was talking to Troy about this. Was that Troy talking about it? If it wasn't, no, it wasn't Troy. It was Trav. Look at this John 6 and 63. I'm going to show you something. He say, few there be that find. He say straight to the God. I'm going to look at something. I didn't want you to hear what Peter said to the master while we looking at life. I didn't want y'all to hear something that Peter said to the master. John 6 and 63. It is the Ruach that quicken, the flesh profiteth nothing. The words that I speak unto you, they are Ruach and they are life. But there are some of you that believe not. Yahusha, for Yahusha knew from the beginning who they were that believed not, and who should betray him. And he said, therefore I said unto you that no man can come unto me except it were given unto him of my Abba. From that time many of the disciples went back and walked no more with him. Then said Yahusha unto the 12, will you also go away? Then Simon Peter answered him, Master, to whom shall we go? For thou hast the words of eternal life. And we believe and are sure that thou art the Mashiach, the Son of the living Alahym. Now he say, enter in at the straight gate which lead to life. That tight way is going to lead to life because it's going to lead to the Son, because it's going to lead to, in 1 Corinthians 15, about verse 45, I want to say, this is where he say the first Adam was made a living soul, but the second Adam was made a quickening Ruach. So to walk in that straight way, to walk in to receive life, you have to walk in the pathway of life, or follow the Ruach, or follow the Son. You know what I'm saying? See, we're going to look at something in John chapter 12, verse 24, after we read in Proverbs 3 and verse 8, right, verse 5. But the reason why we say, you see what Peter said? Peter said, where we going to go at? You have the words to eternal life. The reason why we read that is because people just think, because it was a whole bunch of people preaching the word during the Master's time too. But Peter sat back and considered, where am I going to get the words of eternal life from? These niggas ain't got it. So regardless of I was offended by what you said, or this, because the reason why these people started walking with him is when he told these people they had to eat his flesh and drink his blood. And he said, did this thing offend you? Because they were murmuring. They were offended by what he said. He went to dropping word on these men and telling these men stuff, and these men were offended at what he said. They weren't considering that this is a pastor after Yahuwah's own heart who was feeding them with knowledge and understanding. They were offended at what he said. And when he heard them murmuring and running their mouth, he asked them, did this offend you? Do you want to see me go back to where I was at before? And that's when he went and told them, see, your flesh don't profit you nothing. You don't get no gain from that. He said, yeah, man, it's the Ruach that make you alive. The words that I say, they will walk in life. They said, these people heard this here. They didn't want to walk with him no more. Peter looked at, that's why he looked at Peter. You going to lead too? Peter said, boy, you got the word, man. Where I'm going to go at? You know what I'm saying? These men sat back and looked at, these people that departed from him because they sat back and looked at, I don't like what he said. So I don't want to hear the word from him no more, even though I know what he's telling me was correct. I don't like what he said. And they going to hell for that. And the master already knew when they did that is because in actuality, they didn't believe. Because you let what I said to you offend you to the point you didn't want to hear the word no more because you never believed it in the first place. So the same thing happened when Moses was speaking to the people in the wilderness. They were offended at what he said, and they were ready to go back to Egypt because they never believed. They never believed. That's why they were ready to go back. The same thing with these men right here. It's a basis for every story. Proverbs 3 and 5. See, when we look at Joseph, breaking that story down for Pharaoh, which I think I'll just let that stand alone one day and deal with this, because that's an encompassing topic. He gave him forth an understanding of the vision in order to save souls alive. Without the understanding of the vision, everybody died. There would have been no one to interpret it, to be able to give the people the understanding to know what to do. The understanding of the scriptures allows you to know what to do. Without it, you don't actually know what to do. You're just doing something and you will die. It's really just that simple. Proverbs 3 and 5. It said, trust in Yahuwah with all thy heart and lean not unto thy own understanding. In all thy ways acknowledge him, and he shall direct thy paths. Say, he'll direct them. That means the same way it said where the Ruach went, that's where they went. They didn't go to the left hand nor to the right. They let Yah direct where they wanted to go. See, a lot of people get messed up because they want to direct where they want to go. Self-willed individuals. I'm going to do what I want to do, and I'm going to try to say Yah's directing me. Hello? What's going on with you?
Yeah, I think my pops
Yeah. Let's look at Psalms 37. Psalms 37. What is the verse that I desire? What's that? Psalms 37 and 23. Listen to him. The steps of a good man are ordered by Yahuwah, and he delight in his way. Though he fall, he shall not be utterly cast down, for Yahuwah uphold him with his hand. Look what he said, though he fall. So when I say though he fall, what's the first thing should come to your mind, gentlemen? Say Yahuwah direct his way, though he fall. Hold on. Hello? What you say, Troy? What's the first thing y'all think about when he say, a good man's steps are ordered by Yahuwah, though he fall, he will uphold him by his right hand? Yeah, the just man fallen 7 times, him falling in the grave. So, who directed the good man's steps to go die? The word or the Ruach is what directed Yahushua to the grave. See, let's sit back and look at it, right? What is that? Matthew 26? Let me see if Matthew 26 is what's stating and what's coming to my head. Let me see if it's not. If it ain't Matthew 20, it's one of the accounts. I gotta remember which one it is. Let me see which one it is. Let me see if Matthew 26 got what I want. Let me see if it got that what I want. Yep, Matthew 26 and 24. But we'll start at 21 though. So you got to realize something, right? Solomon and David are telling you about how Yahuwah is directing somebody. What is directing them but the word? He just said the words that I speak unto you, they are Ruach and they are life. So it's the Ruach of Alahym, or the word of Alahym, which is directing you. And as we look in Ezekiel chapter 1, they say wherever the Ruach took them, they stayed on the straight path. They didn't go to the left hand nor to the right. So when you catch yourself going to the left hand or to the right, that means you're directing yourself. You're not following the right. You're doing what you want to do. You know what I'm saying? And there's a reason why we're looking at what we're finna look at once we read John 12 and 23. And it'll all make sense. And then we'll delve into the root of the matter of this evening. And as they did eat, he said, truly I say unto you, one of you shall betray me. He said, though he fall, he said, Yahuwah uphold him by his right hand, though he fall down. And they were exceedingly sorrowful, and began every one of them to say unto him, Master, is it I? So they went to asking because they went to wondering, am I going to do it? Am I going to do it? See, I'm going to tell you something, right? That kind of, to a certain extent, that kind of showed that it wasn't even in their heart to do it, to those that asked themselves. Because they already know, man, I wouldn't do that. But it's one nigga, he knew he was going to do it. Let's look at his response. And he answered and said, he that dip his hand with me in the dish, the same shall betray me. The Son of Man go as it is written of him. You see what he said? I go as the way the Father has ordered me or direct me. They say a good man's steps are ordered by Yahuwah. This man say, seek out the book of Yahuwah and read. None of these shall fail, and every one shall warn his mate. I'm going the way the book say I got to go. I'm going the way the Ruach say I got to go. I'm going the way Yahuwah say I got to go. And though I fall, he will lift me up with his right hand. See, you know that also, son? Give me a second, because I'm going to show you what it means. Hold on. The Son of Man go as it is written of him, but woe unto that man by whom the Son of Man is betrayed. It had been good for that man if he had not been born. Then Judas, which betrayed him, answered and said, Master, is it I? And he answered him unto him and said, Thou hast said. You know what I'm saying? See, they went to asking him, Master, is it me? Is it me? Is it me? But he already knew it wasn't in their heart. Judas knew, though. As soon as he gave him the sop. Once he dipped the bread in the sop and handed it to him, now Judas asking, is it me? Nigga, you know. But look at the key thing he said. He said, I got to go the way that is written of me. Let's look at John 12 and 23 and then Revelation 14 and 12. It's not Revelation 14 and 12. I think it's 19, but we'll see. Let's look at John 12 and 23 first. See, we're going to have to learn to be able to be just like the Son and just like what it is we read in Ezekiel, and let the Ruach take you where you're supposed to go. You know what I'm saying? That man said, he say, take up your stake and follow me. If you take up your stake and you suffer in the flesh as Mashiach suffered in the flesh, that means you walking in the straight gate or the narrow way or the pathway to life. which means you going where the sun go. You following him. A lot of people not following the sun, they following themselves. They doing what they want to do. And I was talking with Trad about this the other day, right? We done went over this before. It's a process before Yahuwah cut you off. You know what I'm saying? Before he cut you off and say, I rejected you, it's a process to it. You know why it's a process to it? Because he wants the thoughts of your heart to be revealed unto men. You know what I'm saying? See, the intents of your heart are kept secret while they in your heart. But he will allow you to continually go against the word so that all can see what is actually in your heart by your actions. So it can be seen unto all men why he rejected you. So y'all don't sit there and y'all don't think about that type of stuff. He just don't cut people off the rip. He wants everybody to know and see that an individual is unbelieving and wicked. He wants you to see that. Not just for the individual, but that so all men may know. That's why the book say, mark them that move contrary to the doctrine that you have received and avoid them. That's in Romans 16 and 17. He say, anybody that move contrary to the teaching that you've been taught, he say, mark them and leave them alone. And all that is going back to the law about stone them and get them from around you. You know what I'm saying? But the purpose of that doing that, he did it with Saul. Before he cut Saul off, man, he let everybody see how stupid Saul was before he said, all right, I rejected him for being king. Before he destroyed Sodom and Gomorrah, he let all their iniquity come to the full before he did it. Even he said that in Babylon. Before he destroyed Babylon, he got to let their iniquity come to the full. That means every single wicked and evil, rotten thing that's in your heart, I must let this be exposed unto all men before I destroy you. And there are many more examples of many other people in this book. Nebuchadnezzar, he let all the thoughts of Nebuchadnezzar's heart come out before he cut him off. Before he had this man on all fours, licking up water off grass like a dog. Before he killed Ahab and Jezebel, he let all they work. These people were killing prophets, man. They had all Yasharal worshiping idols. He didn't cut them off until they did that move with that man for his vineyard. Then he said, I'm going to kill him. I'm going to kill everything that pisses against the wall. Because now his iniquity has come to the full. I'm done with him now. So y'all got to sit back and consider that. Y'all don't realize that when Yahuwah is ready to cut, he'll let you commit sin after sin after sin after sin, because it's to expose your heart. And if y'all can't sit back and see that Yahuwah is exposing the heart of somebody for you to know that they're not of Yahuwah, that's a lack of discernment on your part. Do you know what I'm saying? That's a lack of discernment on your part. It's not the other person's part who's committing the iniquity, because they're showing you what time it is with them. He said, by their fruits you gonna know them. How can we sit back and say we being directed by the Ruach, but then do things contrary to the Ruach on a continual basis? How is that possible? And then to claim and to profess to be in Yahuwah and Yahuwah to be in us. That would be an incorrect statement and blasphemy to a certain extent. John 12 and 23. And Yahushua answered them and saying, the hour is come that the Son of Man should be esteemed. Truly, truly, I say unto you, except a corn of wheat fall into the ground and die, it abide alone. But if it die, it bring forth much fruit. He that love his life shall lose it. He that hate his life in this world shall keep it unto life eternal. See, if you hate your life, you're going to let this man direct. See, you know what that go down to? This is what that really go down to. If you hate your life, you'll keep it. Or you got to go back and look at Exodus. Them people hated their time in Mizraim. They hated it. They were the righteous ones coming up out of there. Moses, Aaron, Yahushua son of Nun, Caleb. They was willing to lose all that to gain their life because they hated it there. They hated it there. But those that came out talking about we wanted cucumbers, leeks, and melons, they were trying to save their life. That's why they lost it. That's why they lost it. They were trying to gain everything in Mizraim, but in the end they lost their life. We have to consider that and remember that. Those that came up out of Egypt, they hated that place. They cried out unto Yahuwah because of the oppression. They hated it there. Therefore, they were willing to lose everything to gain the life that Yahuwah had to give. We have to sit back and realize and remember that, because you got to remember they were coming through the Red Sea. They were coming through that straight pathway. They were being directed by the Ruach when they were coming through there, because Moses was representative of Alahym and Aaron was his prophet. Alahym is a Ruach. And those that serve him must serve him in Ruach and in truth. So when Moses would lead them up out of there, they were following the Ruach, becoming the sons of Alahym. But all Yasharal is not of Yasharal. All of them were not of the people. So he had to take them through the wilderness for the thoughts of their heart may be manifest before he killed them. See, he already knew these people were wicked. He couldn't kill them right then. He had to let their fruit be known. He had to manifest their works. Their works had to be manifested that he would be justified in killing them. That no man could say anything against him when he executed his fierce wrath and judgment upon their head. You know what I'm saying? The wrath of Yahuwah is not anything that any man would want to feel. And you should do everything that is humanly possible within your power to avoid it. Because if not, you will feel it. And it will not be enjoyable on your behalf. He that loveth his life shall lose it, and he that hateth his life in this world shall keep it unto life eternal. Listen what the man tell you. If any man serve me, let him follow me. And where I am, there shall also my servant be. If any man serve me, him will my Father esteem, or my Father honor. Do y'all sit back and you see what he said? Wherever I am, my servant gonna be. That thing say wherever the Ruach went, them men stayed on the straight path and did not deviate to the left and to the right. They kept following that Ruach. So how do we sit back and we know that the master is resurrected from the dead and now he is a quickening Ruach and we supposed to be following him, but yet you deviate to the left hand or to the right? I mean, you're not a son, you're a bastard. I don't sit back, I don't care who feelings get hurt, I don't care who don't like it. That's what the book say. Take it up with Yahuwah by Hashem Yahushua. Let me know how it work out for you. That's on you. You not following. I mean, that man's not ordering your steps. If he ordered your steps, you would have died to sin and lived to righteousness by the Ruach through Yahushua HaMashiach like the man told you. You wouldn't sit back and talk about, well, I'm going to dibble over here with this, and I'm going to dibble over here with that, and I'm going to dibble over here with this. No, man, that's all you right there. You follow Hashatan. You don't follow Yahuwah. That's clear as day. That's abundantly plain. If we're going to be in the Ruach and follow the Ruach, I mean, you got to follow behind this man and go where he go. He's not taking you to no sin. See, that's where to go back to what we looked at in John 6. Then people sat back and say, we don't want to walk with you no more. Peter said, man, where we going to go at, man? We just following the Ruach. We going where you going. You got the words of eternal life. Where are we going to go at? That's a strong statement that this man make. This man asked Peter outright, you going to dip too? He said, where we going to go at? Where are we going to go? Where are we going to go? Revelation chapter 14, my people. Revelation chapter 14. Oh, the people of Yahuwah, where are we going to go? (14 and 12). 14 and 12. Revelation 14 and 12. Here's the patience of, hold on. Hello? Hello? Yeah. He said, and here's the patience of the Kadeshim. Here they that keep the commandments of Alahym and the Amun of Yahusha. And I heard a voice from Shamahim saying, right, Baruch are the dead which die in the master from henceforth. Yea, saith the Ruach, that they may rest from their labors and their works do follow them. He said, remember what he said though, even though they fall, thy hand will uphold them. Mashiach will uphold you. As long as you follow in that Ruach, he will uphold you. He said your works going to follow you because you followed him. I mean, say, I know your works, I know thy poverty, and I know thy patience. And he said, I know that you have held fast to my name. Consider that and wait at Romans 8 and 11. And we'll get to Ezekiel chapter 10 and we're going to get into what we got to touch this evening. Matter of fact, make it 8 and 7, man. 8 and 6. It don't make no difference. I'll read all of it. So just to sit back, what we looking at is Those that in Ezekiel chapter, and I'm going to reread Ezekiel chapter 1 before we look at Ezekiel 10. Those in Ezekiel 1 that were following that Ruach, they were following it because they were Ruach-minded people. They had a mind of life. This is why he said, I'll raise up pastors after my own heart, because Yahuwah is life. So those that preach his word will have a mind that leans and pertains to the things that pertain to life. They don't have a mind that pertains to the things of the flesh or the mind that pertains to the things of death. Only the things that pertain to life are what they're interested in. It's the same way I would talk to Troy about this here, right? And I ain't gonna call the dude now. I ain't gonna call the dude now, because we ain't trying to start nothing with nobody. You know what I'm saying? But he was just telling me, like, I think I read to y'all last week, I have never shunned to give unto y'all the counsel of Alahym. I ain't gonna hold nothing back from y'all as forth as the word is concerned. Whatever I got, I'm gonna give it to you. Now, there's certain things that we ain't dropped it, not because we holding it back, just because we haven't worked our way around to going through it, because he done took us in a different direction. But just like this here, I wasn't holding the stuff in Ezekiel that we've been starting to look at because I didn't want you to know it. It just wasn't time for us to drop it yet. Obviously, now he wants us to drop it now. But I'm not going to hold that back. Or if you ask me something directly about something, even if we haven't hit it yet, it's been in my mind to hit it. That's why sometimes we don't went over stuff that, okay, was in my mind to do this 3-4 months ago, and we didn't get around to it. Somebody asked about it, so we'll go ahead and do it now. But Slim was telling me about a dude was like, oh yeah, Akeem. See, we can't give that to the people. See, we got to keep ourselves with us. And people like to piecemeal people the information. They like to piecemeal the people the information because it keeps the people subject unto you, because you feel like they got to keep coming back to you for this information. See, the master did not operate that way. He said, I don't call you servants for friends, but all things that I've known of my Father, I've made them known unto you. See, and those who have a mind after Yahuwah's own heart, who he get a word, they do the same thing. They're going to make everything known unto you. They're not going to hold nothing back or piecemeal it to you to string you along to inflate their ego, so you be like, oh, I got to come to him to ask him this question. They'll freely give it. They'll freely give it. They'll freely give it. That's it. They will freely give it. They will freely give it. That's how it works. Romans 8:6. Or 8:5. For they that are after the flesh do mind the things of the flesh, but they that are after the Ruach, the things of the Ruach. For to be carnally minded is death, but to be spiritually minded is life and shalom. Because the carnal mind is enmity against Alahym, for it is not subject to the law of Alahym, neither indeed can be. So then they that are in the flesh cannot please Alahym. But you are not in the flesh, but in the Ruach, if so be that the Ruach of Alahym dwell in you. Now if any man have not the Ruach of Mashiach, he is none of his. And if Mashiach be in you, the body is dead because of sin, but the Ruach is life because of righteousness. But if the Ruach of him that raised up Yahushua from the dead dwell in you, he that raised up Mashiach from the dead shall also quicken your mortal bodies by his Ruach that dwell in you. Therefore, brethren, we are debtors not to the flesh to live after the flesh. But if you live after the flesh, ye shall die. But if ye through the Ruach do mortify the deeds of the body, ye shall live. For as many as are led by the Ruach of Alahym, they are the sons of Alahym. Now let's go back to Ezekiel chapter 1. This man says, as many as are led by that Ruach, they the sons of Alahym. That's what you see in Ezekiel chapter 1. They were led by the Ruach, showing forth that they are the sons of Alahym. Now we got to sit back and look at ourselves. Are we showing forth ourselves to be the sons of Alahym? So when we look at 1 and 12, it says they went every one straight forward. Whither the Ruach was to go, they went. They turned not when they went. If you a son of Alahym, you're going to go where that Ruach take you. You're going to follow the word. And you're not going to deviate off the word. As simple as that. It's as simple as that. You are not going to deviate from off the word. You're going to follow it. You're going to keep it. You're going to roll with it. Let's go to Ezekiel chapter 10. Ezekiel chapter 10. And the reason why you would do that is because you understand. If you don't understand it, you're not going to follow. Ezekiel chapter 10 and verse 1. I'm going to just read verse 1. I don't even want to get into all this stuff here because this is something totally different that we're going to have to say. Then I looked, and behold, in the firmament that was above the head of the cherubims, there appeared over them as it were sapphire stone, as the appearance of the likeness of a throne. And he spake unto the man clothed with linen, and said, Go in between the wheels, even under the cherub, and fill thy hand with coals of fire from between the cherubims, and scatter them over the city. And he went in my sight. Their cherubim stood on the right side of the house, and the man went in, and the cloud filled the inner court. Then the esteem of Yahuwah went up from the cherub and stood over the threshold of the house. And the house was filled with the cloud, and the court was full of the brightness of Yahuwah's esteem. And the sound of the cherubim's wing was heard even to the utter court, as the voice of the Almighty Alahym when he speak. And it came to pass when he had commanded the man clothed with linen, saying, Take fire from between the wheels, and from between the cherubims. Then he went in and stood beside the wheels. And one cherub stretched forth his hand from between the cherubims unto the fire that was between the cherubims, and took thereof, and put it into the hands of him that was clothed with linen, who took it and went out. And there appeared in the cherubims the form of a man's hands under their wings. And when I looked, behold, the four wheels by the cherubims, one wheel by one cherub, and another wheel by another cherub. And the appearance of the wheels was as the color of beryl stone. Now, what do y'all think this is talking about as you hear this? This is also going into what Ezekiel mentioned in Ezekiel 43. That's why we're looking at it. What y'all think this is talking about as you read, as you hear this? Anybody got any idea what they think this could be talking about? Excuse me. Nobody don't got no idea what this could be talking about. Nobody want to take a chance. Well, let's look and see what it's talking about. Hold on. Somebody trying to say something? Go ahead. That he is. Well, let's look at this verse 1, right? Above the head of the cherubims there appeared, as it was sapphire stone, the appearance, the likeness of a throne. Let's look at Exodus chapter 24. And then Psalms 99 and 1. You can hold Ezekiel chapter 10. I got two concepts I'm trying to hit. That's why I'm looking at this house and working it in. If I work it this way, then I can bring the aftermath of the main tenet that I want to discuss this evening. So I got to try to work it this way. Probably won't get to the lion face tonight. Probably just wait. Exodus chapter 24. And about verse 8. Well, actually about verse 9. And they went up, Moses and Aaron and Nadab and Abihu and the 70 elders of Yasharal. And they saw the esteem of Yasharal, and there was under his feet as it were a paved work of sapphire stone, and as it were the body of Shammahim in its clearness. And upon the nobles of the children of Yasharal he laid not his hand. Also they saw Alahym and did eat and drink. So Ezekiel is seeing the same vision of the same thing that they literally saw. So when we look at Psalms 99 and 1. Get Revelation 6 and 15, I believe. So look at Psalms 99 and 1. Yahuwah reign, let the people tremble. He sit between the cherubims. Let the earth be moved. So when you see that there, that should take your mind to the Ark of the Covenant, because you got the two covering cherubs. over the Ark of the Covenant and right over the mercy seat or the throne. So that's what you're seeing. Come over here though.
Do you know exactly what a cherubim is?
It's a creature of Shamahin, basically a Malachim of some sorts, for lack of better description at this time. But cherubim is basically almost what you see in those creatures with those faces. I think it just dropped out my brain where I was going to go. Oh, Revelation 6 and 15. And the kings of the earth, and the great men, and the rich men, and the chief captains, and the mighty men, and every bondman, and every free man hid themselves in the den of the rocks of the mountains. And he said to the mountains and the rocks, fall on him, fall on us, and hide us from the face of him that sit on the throne and from the wrath of the Lamb. Hello? Hello? What's going on, bro? For the great day of his wrath is come, and who shall be able to stand? So what he's seeing is he's seeing Mashiach coming again. Now Ezekiel's getting he got a lot of visions of the coming of the Master. Let's come back to Ezekiel chapter 10. That's what we sat back and looked at that. Is you're seeing that he's seeing this man coming on his throne. So when you look at verse 2 in Ezekiel chapter 10, where he said he spake to the man clothed with linen. And he said, go between the wheels, even under the cherub, and fill thy hand with coals of fire between the cherubims, and scatter them over the city. And he went in my sight. And how the cherubim stood on the right side of the house when the man went in, and the cloud filled the inner court. And how the esteem went up from the cherub and stood over the threshold of the house. And the house was filled with the cloud, and the court was full with the esteem of Yahuwah's esteem, the brightness of Yahuwah's esteem. And that the sound of the cherubim's wing was heard even to the utter court, as the voice of Almighty Alahym when he speaks. And it says he commanded the man clothed with linen to take the fire between the wheels and basically toss the fire upon the city. Well, let's look at something about this man clothed with linen. And let's look at Daniel chapter 10. Daniel chapter 10 and 5. Now, it's a little different with the faces that Ezekiel sees in the 10th chapter. Instead of an ox, he sees a cherub this time. But we'll have to deal with that. Y'all willing in the future. We might not be able to get to that tonight. Daniel 10 and 5. Then I lift up my eyes and look, and beheld a certain man was clothed in linen, whose loins were girded with the fine gold of Uphaz. His body was like the beryl, and his face as the appearance of lightning, and his eyes as the lamps of fire, and the arms and his feet like in color to polished brass, and the voice of his words like the voice of a multitude. So we see him being clothed in linen. Why is this important that he's clothed in linen? Why is it important that he's clothed in linen? Does anybody have any idea why would it be important that he's clothed in linen?
The Revelations is talking about him being clothed in fine white linen, right?
Absolutely.
He's clothed in the spirit.
That as well. Or just like what Corey had mentioned, the righteousness of the Kadeshim. But also specifically, what does the high priest have to put on? Let's look at Ezekiel chapter 44 and let's see. Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Ezekiel 44 and 17. Or 16 is better. Then they shall enter into my sanctuary, and they shall come near to my table to minister unto me, and they shall keep my charge. It shall come to pass when they enter into the gates of the inner court, they shall be clothed with linen garments. Where did he just see this man clothed in linen? Where did he just go at? In the inner court. Hello? 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 This man just went in the inner court, right? Who the only person could go in the inner?
Think about this.
Go ahead.
I would say when you think about the ark and it had the two cherubs set up like the mercy seat. So if they said go up under in the midst of the cherubs and up under them to grab something, he had to go into the inner court. He had to go into the deepest of the depth.
And who the only person could go in the inner court?
High priest.
So this is Hamashiach, you see, that's why he clothed in linen. So again, this is showing you that how, again, also pointing to how, what we talked about on Wednesday, just briefly, about the priesthood of Melchizedek and how that works. The reason why I'm mentioning this here, because the brothers was talking about the long hair thing again. Nobody who came at us about the long hair thing actually sat down and heard what we went through. Now, of course, I will post what we went through. I won't tell you to go look at the video, even though they were commenting on the video that they had not watched. And I'm going to tell y'all something, and I don't know if I told y'all that last week. I purposely put the stuff with the long hair at the end for a reason. I put it in the title, and then I put it at the end for a reason. Because you was going to have to hear that everything else that we were talking about, which was actually, the long hair thing is relevant, don't get me wrong. But the other stuff that we were discussing was a tad bit more relevant. You know what I'm saying? Because I already know how niggas' minds think, because niggas like controversy. So they only going to want to deal with the fact that he's saying it's a shame for a man to have long hair. I want to hear what he got to say. Well, you're going to have to hear about an hour and 25 minutes before you even get to that unless you fast forward. You know what I'm saying? I purposely did that. Like, I've done that numerous times on different topics that I know that Hebrews will argue about and put that information at the back. You know what I'm saying? But when we look at it, with the priesthood of Melchizedek, there is no tribal affiliation. See, you could only be a priest if you were the tribe of Levi. Under Melchizedek, there are no tribe that you have to be a part of to be a priest. Any one of the sons of Yasharal can be a priest, regardless of what tribe he belongs to. This is why the master came through in the beginning and said that you'll be a kingdom of priests unto me. Hello? Shalom. How you doing, dude? So, this is why this is important. Doesn't matter if you're of Issachar, doesn't matter if you're a Benjamin, doesn't matter if you're Judah, anybody can be of that. So when he mentions that these priests got to cut their hair, that's over with. I don't see what the big deal is. Brother was like, oh, so we got to have temp fades, ball fades. Who said anything about a fade? Just like me and Troy talking about earlier, like you can sit back and look at that your people groom their hair. I mean, they was in the mirror brushing their hair just like some of y'all be in the mirror brushing your hair. You know what I'm saying? Combing your hair. Whatever it is that you do to it. Which also goes in the fact of that the children of Yasharal are fly people. You know what I'm saying? Just by nature. You wonder why you do certain things like that and then you see it in the book because that's what type of, that's just who you are. It's intrinsically in your DNA. See, I had a conversation earlier. I said this to y'all Thursday too. Well, not everybody. Only 2 people heard what I said actually. See, you don't wake up one day and become a real dude. You either are or you aren't. You don't wake up one day and have a love for your people. You either have it or you don't. There are some things that are just intrinsically in people. There are some things in life that just don't have to be taught. Not to say that those things can't be taught to people and that certain things can't be developed in people. Because I know people that weren't hustlers and somebody taught them how to be one and they became one. Then you have some people, they just have the stuff that can't be taught. You know what I'm saying? They usually gravitate to other people who have those things in them that can't be taught. Because they're like-minded, so they have a commonality. You know what I'm saying? I started to notice in my lifetime a lot of times where you have situations where it don't work out with people is because you didn't really have that like-mindedness or that commonality with that individual. And it don't got to be somebody you were dating or nothing like that. Just people, period. Even with your family members. You know what I'm saying? The commonality doesn't exist. That's why there comes to a time where there's head bumping. Or y'all don't always have a mutual meeting of the minds because y'all are not actually, you don't have the same mind. You know what I'm saying? Sometimes that's a hard thing to deal with when you're dealing with somebody that doesn't have the same mind as you or don't have instinctively or intrinsically the things that you have. Then you're hoping that that individual can develop them. Then when they don't develop them, it becomes a little frustrating. Then you feel like I just wasted my time. You know what I'm saying? But it's never a waste of time with anything because you can learn something from everything. But, so when we see this here, right, we know this ain't Aaron going in here. Because he telling this man to grab fire from up under this thing. He telling him to grab some fire and scatter it over this city. We're going to see in a moment why, but let's finish reading this here though. In the 17th chapter, Ezekiel 44. Shall come to pass that when they enter in at the gates of the inner court, they shall be clothed with linen garments, and no wool shall come upon them while they minister in the gates of the inner court and within. They shall have linen bonnets upon their heads, and they shall have linen breeches upon their loins, and they shall not gird themselves with anything that causes sweat. So there's a reason why when Daniel sees his vision, he sees the master standing there with a linen garment on. He's standing there with his linen garment, huh? Go ahead.
Like that, when he took the coals, he took it from the coals, and then you looking at the altar when you're doing the sacrifice, coals lay on the altar.
Yeah.
So he instructed him to take the coals from the altar and sprinkle it over the city. You're looking at the Mashiach died and laid his life at the altar. So the coals that's being sprinkled over the city is a representation of the sins of the people. So their own sins is that fire that's laid at the altar that never ceases.
Yeah, that go.
So he's sprinkling over the city that remembrance of that burnt offering.
So that goes back to Deuteronomy 32. You have kindled a fire in me that will burn to the lowest hell, and it will never be quenched. So this saying, the purpose of this is what he's actually doing is, since y'all sacrifice me, I'm going to sacrifice you. You kill me, I'm going to kill you. You know what I'm saying? See, last time I killed y'all, I did it with water. This time I'm going to kill y'all, I'm killed with fire. Why? Because Genesis 6 and 5 say they have corrupted the way of Yahuwah on the earth. See, they corrupted the way of Yahuwah on the earth when they corrupted his son and made him die. They killed him. They corrupted him. So he said, I got to punish you for that. But instead of punishing you with water, I'm going to punish you with fire. Because y'all got to see me. Which go back to what we were talking about a little bit. We just didn't precept it all the way out with the seeing the man and the lion's face on that creature. That's his wrath. Now, like I say, on this one, we'll get to Ezekiel chapter 10 with it. On this one, he sees a lion, an eagle, and a man, but he also sees a cherub. And there's a reason why there's a cherub there instead of that ox. There's a reason why there's a cherub there instead of that ox. Because when you're looking at that ox, you're looking at that cherub instead of that ox, that's going to tie into the Malachim that was dropping them plagues on the whole earth. And that's why there's a cherub there instead of an ox. Because now I'm going to execute this complete, total, and utter wrath upon all of you wicked people. But what else going to go at? Don't remember. Oh, Revelation 1 and 13. What'd you say, bro? I hear you. I'm listening to you.
I think you said something about Psalms 99 or something like that.
Yeah, we done been there. We hit that. I appreciate you, though. So look at this Revelation 1 and 13. Just for another witness of what Daniel's seen with this man. He's in his priestly garments. Now you'll ask yourself, why would he be in his priestly garments and he finna go to war? But let's look and see why. And I turned, and in the midst of the 7 candlesticks, one like unto the Son of Man, clothed with a garment down to the foot, and girded about with the paps with a golden girdle. And his head and his hairs were white like wool, as white as snow, and his eyes was the flame of fire. And his feet like unto fine brass, as if they burned in the furnace, and his voice as the sound of many waters. And he had in his right hand 7 stars, and out of his mouth went a sharp 2-edged sword, and his countenance was as the sun shine in his strength. So he said this man come up out of here with a 2-edged sword. A 2-edged sword. And he telling them, grab these coals from up under here too, man. And while you got these coals, I need you to scatter them over this city. Revelation 18 and 1. See, we're looking at this wrath part first, right? Because I guess we had to hit it. And I'm going to say, I want to hit the line so bad. Because it's something that I was looking at earlier with that line. You know what I'm saying? But I'm going to wait. Because I'm going to let that stand by itself. I'm going to let that stand by itself. Because it deserves to stand by itself. I promise it do. But I want to deal with a little bit of this wrath. But then I want to end it with the main tenet. Because I was telling somebody about this earlier this afternoon. About the hope and comfort that you'll get if you stand on this word. Or what you'll receive in the latter end. So we're dealing with the wrath part. But then we just like this here. The goodness and the severity of Alahym. See, we talking about the severity right now. In a minute, we're going to talk about the goodness. And that is for those that are ordained to be saved. You know what I'm saying? He told you now, he said these things were given, the scriptures were written aforetime for our learning that through the scriptures we might have hope. You know what I'm saying? See, we ain't as hopeless as other people is. People who ain't got no hope, they don't care nothing about what I'm finna get ready to talk about. It is what it is, though. Revelation 18:1. Listen to what he says. And after these things, I saw another Malachim come down from Shammahim, having great power, and the earth was lightened with his esteem. Just like you seeing in Ezekiel. And he cried with a strong voice, saying, Babylon the great is fallen, and has become the habitation of devils, and the hold of every foul Ruach, and the cage of every unclean and hateful bird. Now, you notice a lot of brothers believe America, Babylon. You got a lot of brothers say, hey, America's not Babylon. Why do we focus on America so bad? The book don't even talk about America. For me personally, Babylon is a world system. And the reason why I say a world system, because when you look at Babylon's central location being literally in Babel, in Iraq, modern day Iraq, Nebuchadnezzar had stretch extending over the whole world. He ruled the whole world. The whole world was given into his hands. The same way the whole world would be given into Babylon the Great, that mother of harlots. You know what I'm saying? So when you look at it, it's just not a central location, but a governmental system, a worshiping system, a religious system, a sacrilegious, idolatrous system that reach extends throughout the whole four corners of the earth. Now, of course, there's one central location. And we know where that actual central location is. That is the place that we call Iraq. But when we look at America, America's Babylon because of the confusion. When you look at Asia, Asia is Babylon because of the confusion. The whole world is confused. How do we know they're confused? Because the author of confusion is there, because there is no kingdom upon this earth that worships and serves the true and living Alahym. That's why I be tripping when niggas talking about they want to move here and move there and move there. I don't want to move to any country except for my home when my king is ruling it, because there is not a planet, there's not a kingdom on this planet that actually serves the true and living Alahym. No matter where you go, you're going to be under the rulership of transgressors and idolaters who will not, when the time comes. Yes, that's what the book says. You know what I'm saying? Huh?
I would say even in Revelation, when it talks about Babylon being on 7 hills or 7 mountains.
Yes, sir.
Like if you look at all cities that are sitting on like 7 hills or 7 mountains, the land literally testifies according to what the book says.
Mm-hmm. You know what I'm saying? So we just sit back, we gotta look at that. You know, like, there's nowhere on this earth, like, and what I was gonna say is that these people have not turned their hearts and minds to mess with you yet. You're not getting persecuted and killed for following this book yet. And I don't care what country you move to, they will kill you for this book when the time comes. Like Mashiach say, my time has not yet come. Our time has not yet come to be killed for the word. Our time hasn't come yet. But when that time comes, I don't care where you stand. Like, I ain't even know this here, right? You know what I'm saying? Corey mentioned this the other day. I ain't even know Dr. Sebi talking about the black woman is God, and that's the only God he gonna answer to. And we around here, niggas going buck wild crazy for this man, and Yahuwah hate this man. To be honest, according to the word. This man said, I will not serve any other power but a vagina.
No, literally.
Literally. This is what this man, you know, not to take away from his work, because his work was phenomenal. His work was great. You know, shared a lot of great information that could be beneficial to millions and millions of people. But at the end of the day, he hated your Alahym, though. So at the end of the day, he was teaching you to go against your Alahym, though. See, we'll throw that all out the side the window because of the medical information that he was given. But then you don't actually sit back and look at, this man was teaching you to go to hell. This man was telling you, I hadn't told y'all this before. This man was telling you, don't eat what Yahuwah said is good, instead of saying, watch where you get it from. You know what I'm saying? And smoke marijuana.
Yeah, and drink pee.
And drink urine. Ain't no Yahudim got no business drinking no urine. You know what I'm saying? Man, what is this here? What this man was talking about, man? What was this here? Oh. Like, this man died and niggas almost act like Hamashiach himself died. That's how niggas was acting. You know what I'm saying? Instead of y'all remembering what Luke 16 and 15 say, that which is highly esteemed among men is abomination of Alahym. Y'all think Yahuwah loved it, man, because y'all loved it? Because everybody said doing all this talking? Yahuwah said, man, that man is an offense to me. You know what I'm saying? This man is an offense to me. I'm just talking about what the book say. I don't know the man to have a personal problem with him. So let that be known. You know what I'm saying? I got a problem with anybody hate my Alahym, though. I got a problem with that. You know what I'm saying? But then let that be known. We ain't taking off on. Then sit back and look at, oh, nigga think because he did all this medical, he cured people with AIDS and cancer, he getting in the kingdom. Okay, you wait for that. I bet you see that nigga in the go to hell first line. He say all idolaters will have their place. No one is exempt. All idolaters going. This man worship vagina. How we gonna sweep that under the rug? This man worship vagina. This man said the power that created him was a vagina. The power that created Shamaim and a rat is a vagina. This is what he is saying. Now let that sink into your brain. Every time a nigga say the black woman is God, these niggas worship vagina. They saying vagina made man from the dust of the ground. They say vagina make the rain come down to water your crops. This is what they saying. You know how stupid that sound? That sound real stupid. Leah, get back out there. Go back in there. You got no, you in your drawers. You gonna mess around and get on camera in your drawers. You know what I'm saying? Think about that, right? Think about that, right? Let's think about that, right? Let's think about, let that sink in your brain. This nigga worked, and it was funny too. That picture I put in the chat the other day, man. Because that's real rap. You don't see Yahuwah warning women about men at all. You don't see that at all. But you sure see Yahuwah warning men about women, though. You know what I'm saying? Because Samson was a mighty man, and he fell because of a woman. Yahusha was a mighty man, and he fell because of a woman. You know what I'm saying? Adam, a mighty man, fell because of a woman. David fell because of a woman. Solomon fell because of a woman. Oh, that Ahab fell because of a woman. Y'all don't realize that. And when the brother put it like that, I'm like, that real talk. You don't see Yahuwah warning a woman about a man at all. The reason being because at that time, your father would have chose who you was married to. And you would hope your father had enough sense to give you to a man of understanding, to where that wouldn't be an issue where you need to be warned. You know what I'm saying? But a man is very imperative because the men are the leaders of the people. They're the priests, they're the kings. And the woman that they choose can be the difference between them being destroyed and consequently destroying the people, or the upliftment of himself and the people. Because, see, the thing is, like, women like penis, but most women are not directed and moved by penis. Men are directed and moved by vagina, and women know this. Because the reason why I mentioned this is because we had a conversation about something we want to do. Dudes want to involve women in it. You know what I'm saying? And just like a young lady mentioned to me, let women get involved, what they gonna do? Try to take it over. Because that's what they do. And niggas gonna let them do it because they want that pumpkin pie in between their legs. So they gonna let them slide. See, a nigga who let a woman run him is a coward and a buster all the way around. You got no business letting no woman run you or nothing. You know what I'm saying? That's not supposed to happen. Not if you claim to be a man. We're not talking about disrespecting. We're not talking about dictatorship. We're not talking about tyrannical rule. We're talking about being a man and running things how they supposed to be ran. Ain't nowhere in the world you supposed to be moved because she won't give you no vagina. Or because she going to be mad and upset because you didn't let her do what she wanted to do. That's why Yasharal was mad at Yahuwah. They say he don't treat us right because he wouldn't let them do what they wanted to do. And that's why Babylon is called a great whore. Because whores do what they want to do. And they can manipulate men to do what they want them to do because these men want the delicacies that this woman has to offer. Verse 3. That's why she says she's the habitation of devils and every unclean ruach and every hateful bird. Because when you run across a whorish woman, she possesses all these detestable traits. Say, for all nations have drunk, this is verse 3. For all nations have drunk the wine of the wrath of her fornication, and the kings of the earth have committed fornication with her. And the merchants of the earth are waxed rich through the abundance of her delicacies. And I heard another voice from Shamahim saying, come out of her, my people, that you be not partakers of her sins, that you receive not her plagues, for her sins have reached unto Shamahim, and Alahym have remembered her iniquities. See, that's what I was talking about y'all earlier about. It's a process of this man cutting you off. Because after a while, once your sins get up to Shamahim, he said, you know what? I remember that stuff you've been doing. Now I'm going to come see you. Now I'm going to come see you. You know what I'm saying? Because the thing I didn't mention, I didn't even talk about this the other day. It pays to be vagina proof. It pays to be vagina proof. If you can't be moved and swayed by vagina, you are a strong man and you won't be broken. You know what I'm saying? If a woman can sway your decision making for you to go against your best judgment or to go against what you know is right, you are a weak man. You know what I'm saying? You are a weak man. And you need to sit back, go get you, lift you some mental weights or something, do something. You know what I'm saying? Because that got to be tightened up. Because under the right situation and circumstance, you're going to get your people killed. You know what I'm saying? You know what's even crazier? I know women that got more heart than men. That's sad. I'm talking about coming with this word, though. I know women that got more heart than men. I can think about 2, 3 off the rip, off the top of my head. I just ain't going to call their name. I know 2, 3 off the top of my head. I know they got more heart than most dudes. Straight up and down. That's sad for the men, not for the women. You know what I'm saying? Verse 6. Reward her even as she rewarded you, and double unto her double according to her works, and the cup which ye have filled to her double. How much she have esteemed herself and lived deliciously. So much torment and sorrow give her, for she saith in her heart, I sit a queen and am no widow, and shall see no sorrow. She said, I'm a whore. I ain't never lost my husband, and I ain't gonna see no sorrow. Let me ask y'all a question. Why would this whore say she ain't no widow? Why would she say she ain't no widow? Anybody got any idea why she would say she's not a widow? Who would this whore's husband be? Y'all ain't got no idea who this whore's husband could be. Well, this whore's husband is Hashatan. She feel like she ain't no widow because Hashatan ain't been killed yet. So that's why she say, I ain't no widow. Of course you ain't no widow. Your husband ain't dead. He's still around here getting off. You understand what I'm saying? We ain't going to read Ezekiel. we're not going to read Isaiah 47 because Isaiah 47 pretty much says the same thing. So when you see him going up under here with these coals, let's read what he say right here. Verse 7, right? Therefore shall her plagues come in one day, death and mourning and famine, and she shall be utterly burnt with fire, for strong is Yahuwah Alahym who judge her. So we see the high priest is getting the vision of coals of fire being tossed upon Babylon. So he's seeing Mashiach, or the high priest, destroy Babylon with coals of fire. Because he said it, because the man kept his word. The man said, I'm not going to destroy the rats with water no more. I ain't going to do that no more. Something do something bad. I'm going to burn these niggas up. But now let's go look at Zechariah 14 for a mean transition. On a mean, as DJ like to say, on a meanwhile. But meanwhile, after this destruction, something comes up that's a tad bit better. And let's look at that. in Zechariah 14:4. Going to transition out of that wrath because we talked about that wrath a little bit on Wednesday. That's why we came around here to look at the wrath. But I want y'all to sit back and get that thought process into your head. Zechariah 14:4. That the kings of the earth capitulated and bent down to this whore. And therefore it ended up being their destruction. Showing again how a woman will bring down mighty men. You know what I'm saying? The whole purpose and reason why you always see the warnings of a man being taken down by a woman is because it symbolizes literally a man being taken down by a woman. Literally. And then Mashiach being taken down by his wife or by a woman. Or man being taken down by the whore of Babylon in that system. And it takes away their power. That's why the words say don't give your strength unto women. You know what I'm saying? Because if you give that away, then they feel like they have that power over you and they will exploit that. A virtuous woman will not exploit that. Because a virtuous woman will be a spiritually minded woman and she will not do that. You know what I'm saying? A carnal minded woman will do that. I won't necessarily say wicked. We won't go all the way live and say wicked. You know what I'm saying? Because every woman, because to be carnally minded is wicked, but every woman doesn't necessarily have that wicked mind where they have the thoughts to just consistently and constantly do evil. They just think in a fleshly matter and don't look at things in a spiritual aspect to know how to actually move and govern themselves. You know what I'm saying? Everybody has a carnal mind is not necessarily just wicked. You know what I'm saying? They just don't have a complete understanding of spiritual concepts to know how to move. Even though in essence a carnal mind is wicked because it's hatred against Alahym. You know what I'm saying? But also in the same token, it just means you don't understand spiritual concepts and there needs to be a renewing of the mind to take that carnal mind out and put a spiritual mind in. I will say this here though. Before we proceed. Whether it be man or whether it be woman, a spiritually minded man will only go so long to try to lead and direct a carnally minded woman before he tires of her and doesn't want nothing to do with her. You know what I'm saying? At the same token, a spiritually minded woman will never submit to a carnally minded man because it will be a great offense to her to submit her knowledge, wisdom, and understanding of our Alahym to a man who can't understand those things, and those things are straight foolishness to him. She will not do it. You know what I'm saying? She wouldn't care how much she liked him, how much she had in common with him, none of that there. That's how she gonna look at it. This nigga's carnal, I can't do nothing with it. I can't submit myself under fleshly leadership. She won't do it. You know what I'm saying? I think a woman is going to be a little bit more hesitant to do that than a man. I think men will try to go a little longer than try to lead a carnally minded woman before tossing her to the side versus a woman saying that I will not submit myself to a carnally minded man. I think a woman will bail out a little faster than a man will. That's just my opinion. I'm not saying that's fact. That's just my opinion. Zechariah 14:4. And his feet shall stand in that day upon the Mount of Olives, which is before Jerusalem, on the east, and the Mount of Olives cleave in the midst thereof, towards the east and towards the west. And there shall be a very great valley, and half the mountain shall remove toward the north, and half of it toward the south. That's why it was in my mind that I knew when he came through that east gate that the Mount of Olives was on the east, because the book tell you that. Remember how we read that in Ezekiel 43 on Wednesday? He said coming through the east gate, got to come through the east gate. That's where the Mount of Olives is. That's where he coming back to, right? Same place he left from in Acts chapter 1, right? And you shall flee to the valley of the mountains, for the valley of the mountains shall reach unto Azal. Yea, you shall flee like as you fled from before the earthquake in the days of Uzziah, king of Yehudah. And Yahuwah my Alahym shall come, and all the Kadeshim with him. Same way the master told you in Matthew 24. We read it. He said he coming with all the Malachim, Alahym. He said Jude told you that here come the master with 10,000 thousands of the Kadeshim to render vengeance upon ungodly sinners for all the ungodly sins they committed, and all the hard speeches and murmurings and all their wickedness. And it shall come to pass in that day that the light shall not be clear nor dark, but it shall be one day which shall be known to Yahuwah, not day nor night, but it shall come to pass that at the evening time it shall be light. Which again, if y'all don't remember, that's why the master say, no man know the day I'm coming back but my Father only. It's just little simple stuff. Now, I done showed y'all that several times, but I'm going to just show you. It's just that simple stuff of where understanding come into play, that we understand why Yahushua said that, because the prophets already told you. That he wasn't just speaking his own words. There don't nobody know when he coming back but Yahuwah himself. Even Moses didn't even know when he was coming back down off the mount till Yahuwah told him to go back. I'm up here. I don't know how long he going to have me up here for. But when it's time for me to come down from up here, I'll come on from up here. But I want y'all to look at something. I think it's Numbers 23, 29. Let me see if it's Numbers 23 and 29. I got to work this here, what I was looking at earlier. I got to do it. If I don't do it, I'd be dead wrong. Because it's pounding in my brain. I got to do it. Let me see if that's the one I want. That ain't what I had. That is not the one. I had something else. Hold on. I had something else. That fit right in here what we were looking at in this what we just read. In this Zechariah 14. Let me find this one thing here, man. I was just looking at this earlier. And what it's talking about that the evening time it shall be light. And there's another witness that goes along with this. Because we'll come back with the line and work that line in. The setback, obviously, you know, the conquering line of the tribe of Judah coming to overcome and take over the kingdoms of the earth and to make them his own as it was in the beginning. He got to take back what's his. Let me see if that was Nahum that I was looking at. Swing over here to Nahum. Let's see if that's what we wanted. I was looking at this earlier, man. Now it's escaping my mind. It ain't Nahum. That it is not. That's something totally different. That ain't what I wanted. That is not what I wanted. Man, it's escaping my brain. It is escaping my brain. I hate when that happens. Let me see if it's... No, it ain't Jeremiah either. I know the verse is in my head. Or what's said it is in my head. Let me put it that way. So I'm thinking about it right now. Let's look at Psalms 36. Let me see if that's what it was. If not, we just have to hit it another day. What was it? Psalm 68. Well, come on over to Psalm 68 and 20. Psalm 68 and 20. It'll tie into what we talking about. Once he sit back, he talking about laying that foot down. But that is not what I had in my head. I had something totally different. Psalm 68 and 20. Psalm 68 and 20. Y'all willing, I'll come back up. He that is our Alahym is the Alahym of salvation. Unto Yahuwah belong the issues from death. But Alahym shall wound the head of his enemies, and the hairy scalp of such as one as go on still in his trespasses. Yahuwah said, I will bring again from Bashan, I will bring my people again from the depths of the sea, that thy foot may be dipped in the blood of thine enemies, and the tongue of thy dogs in the same. Now, when you sit back and you look at it, right, it says Hamashiach is walking in a vesture dipped in blood. This man say he going to sit back and say he is going to continue on, and that your foot may be dipped in the blood of your enemies. Which goes back to him treading the wine press. Which is why you see his foot coming down on the Mount of Olives, because he will stamp upon these people and shed their blood. Now, when he say at evening time it shall be light, because you already know that he's going to make the whole earth go dark. He's going to cause Alahym not to give us light. He's going to cause all these things to cease. All these things will cease. So when we turn around, I'm sorry, something just caught my attention. When we turn around and go back to
Talking about cedar, so we know that goes back to
Esau, absolutely. I'm going to bust his whole head open.
It makes me think about Absalom and Samson.
Yeah, because Kira just was mentioning that when we were talking about what caused the dishonor to come along, Samson and Absalom, it was their long hair. What we were just at? Zechariah 14. So when we look at this, right, this is the wrath of Yahuwah. Now we're going to get to the part to give y'all the comfort and your hope. Look at verse 8. It shall be in that day that living water shall go out from Jerusalem, half of them towards the former sea, and half of them towards the hinder sea. And in the summer and the winter shall it be. And Yahuwah shall be king over all their wraths in that day, and there shall be one Yahuwah, and his name Echad. So the Father and Son will be there together. And then the land shall be turned as a plain from Gibeah to Rimmon, south of Jerusalem. And it shall be lifted up and inhabited in her place, from Benjamin's gate unto the place of the first gate, unto the corner gate, from the tower of Haneel unto the king's winepress. And men shall dwell in it, and there shall be no more utter destruction, but Jerusalem shall be safely inhabited. Now I said living water shall go out from Jerusalem, half of them towards the former sea, and half of them towards the hinder sea. Let's look at that. Deuteronomy 10 and 6. Let's look at these waters. We just want to talk about the waters. Just want to talk about the waters. Deuteronomy 10 and 6. And then John 7 and 37. Matter of fact, make it John 7 and 37 first. And then John 19 and 30. And then we'll work our way to Deuteronomy 10. We done looked at it this way before. I'm just doing it like this for a reason. And that last day, that great day of the feast, Yahushua stood and cried, if any man thirst, let him come unto me and drink. Keep that in mind about that last day, that great day of the feast. That he said, if any man thirst, let him come unto me and drink. He that believe on me, as the scripture has said, out of his belly shall flow rivers of living water. But this spake he of the Ruach, which they that believe on him should receive. For the Ruach HaKodesh was not yet given, because that Yahushua was not yet esteemed. Keep that in mind. Living waters flowing. Let's look at John 19 and 30. We already knowing that Mashiach is the house. We need to look at Joel chapter 3 and get that out of the way before we look at Deuteronomy. John 19 and 30. And it says, when Yahushua had received the vinegar, he said, it is finished. And he bowed his head and gave up the Ruach. The Yahudim, therefore, because it was the preparation that the body should not repain upon the stake on the Shabbat day, for that Shabbat day was a high day, besought Pilate that their legs might be broken, and that they might be taken away. Then came the soldiers to break the legs of the first and of the other which was crucified with him. But when they came to Yahushua and saw that he was dead already, they brake not his legs. But one of the soldiers with a spear pierced his side, and forthwith came there out blood and water. And he that saw it bare record, and his record is true. And he know that he saith true, that ye might believe. He said he know that the things that he say are true, that you might believe it. Let's look at Joel chapter 3, about verse 16, I want to say. When we looking at this here about these living waters coming up out of Jerusalem at this time, or waters coming up out the house, there's a reason why we're looking at it. Joel 3 and 16. Yahuwah shall also roar out of Zion, and utter his voice from Jerusalem. And Alahym and the rat shall shake, but Yahuwah will be the hope of his people, and the strength of the children of Yasharal. So shall ye know that I am Yahuwah your Alahym, dwelling in Zion, my Kadesh mountain. Then shall Jerusalem be Kadesh. There shall no strangers pass through her any more. And it shall come to pass in that day that the mountain shall drop new wine, and the hills shall flow with milk. And all the rivers of Yehuda shall flow with waters. All the rivers of Yehuda going to flow with water. Don't y'all think that rivers would already have water in it? But he said now these rivers will flow with water. Why is this important? Let's see. And a fountain shall come forth out of the house of Yahuwah, and shall water the valley of Shir. Mizraim shall be a desolation, and Edom shall be a desolate wilderness. Going back to what What Corey didn't mention. Thus in the hairy scalp of those that continue when they trespass. For the violence against the children of Yehuda, because they have shed innocent blood in their land. So he sit back and you look at it, right? When you look at Misraim or bondage, you're looking at sin and you're looking at the nations. He's going to judge them because they shed innocent blood in their land. They shed the blood of Mashiach in their land. So you turn around and you look at it, right? Hold this right here so it's coming to my head. Revelation 18 and 20. Because he said he going to bust their head so he can dip their foot in some blood. So let's look and see the reason for that. It's got to be some vengeance. It's got to be a recompense. He said, vengeance belongs to Yahuwah. I shall repay, saith Yahuwah. Their foot will slide in due time. Revelation 18 and 20. Listen to what he says. Rejoice over her, thou Shamahim and ye Kadesh apostles and prophets, for Alahym have avenged you on her. Now, ain't this funny when you sit back and think about it? What is the key thing that stands out to y'all in Revelation 18 and 20? Who did he tell her? I need somebody to answer before I proceed. I want to see if somebody caught what I just caught. Well, I've been caught it, but I want to see if y'all caught it, though. I want to see if y'all see it. I'm going to read it again. Rejoice over her, thou Shamahim and you Kadesh apostles and prophets, for Alahym have avenged you on her. What stands out to y'all in that verse? It should be one thing that stands out. Nobody got any idea what would stand out.
Alahym have avenged you on her.
No, that ain't what stand out. It's real subtle. You'll probably catch it when I say it. It's real subtle. Anybody else?
Choice over her? Over her? Like, they on top?
No, that ain't it either. What stands out is this verse is he said, you Kadesh apostles and prophets. Why that stands out is a lot of brothers believe that the apostles stopped with the 12. You know what I'm saying? But you see here in Revelation, he's telling the apostles to rejoice over Babylon. That means if they rejoicing over Babylon, that means that there were more apostles then now, wouldn't it? Would y'all agree to that? What do y'all think? He said, a mighty Malachim took up a stone like a great, And a mighty Malachim took up a stone like a great millstone and cast it in the sea, saying, thus with violence shall that great city Babylon be thrown down, and shall be found no more at all. The voice of harpers and musicians and of pipers and of trumpeters shall be heard no more at all in thee. No craftsman of whatsoever craft he be shall be found any more in thee. The sound of a millstone shall be heard no more at all in thee. And the light of a candle shall shine no more at all in thee. And the voice of the bridegroom and the voice of the bride shall be heard no more at all in thee. For thy merchants were the great men of the Arats. For by thy sorceries were all nations deceived. And in her was found the blood of the prophets and of the Kadeshim and all that was slain upon the Arats. And that's going right back to when the Master said that all the blood that was shed of righteous men from the foundation of the world will be required of this generation. All the righteous blood is going to be required of Babylon. Why he said it's going to be required of Edom. It's going to be required of Egypt. Y'all going to have to pay for that. That's why he said you'll be a desolate wilderness. You seeing the same thing with Babylon. Be a desolate wilderness. Man nor beast will no longer be inhabited in that place. That's what the book say. Come on back to Joel chapter 3. So you got to understand something. When you become to walk in Mashiach and become one with Mashiach, then you would be deemed to have innocent blood because his blood was innocent. Because it would not be as if they're shedding your blood. It would be that they're shedding his blood. Because he said, whoever did this to the least of thee, my brethren, have done so unto me. So if you are in Mashiach and Mashiach is in you, and a man harms and kills you, they killed Yahushua. They did not kill you. And he will avenge them for his death. Because we are his members in particular, and his body. So they killed him. You understand and know that now? That's how Yahuwah is going to look at it. That's how Yahushua is going to look at it. He's not going to look at it as he killed Korah. He ain't going to look at it as he killed Lil Muffin. He's not going to look at it as he killed Dwight, he killed D. He's not going to look at it like that. Because there is no man, no male or female in Mashiach. It's all one and one. It's all one body. He going to sit back and look at it as, you killed me, so I'm going to kill you. Verse 20 of Joel chapter 3. But Yehuda shall dwell forever in Jerusalem from generation to generation. For I will cleanse their blood that I have not cleansed, for Yahuwah dwell in Zion. Same thing you read in Zechariah 14. He said, I got to cleanse that blood. I ain't cleansed it yet. See, the reason why he's telling you that, he has not avenged the blood of Mashiach. You know what the law say to cleanse the land? To cleanse the land of blood, what you got to do, you got to shed the blood to cleanse the innocent blood that's been shed. That's what the law say. You can't shed innocent blood. Deuteronomy 19. Make sure that's what we want. Deuteronomy 19. Then we'll look at Exodus chapter 10, verse 6, and Leviticus chapter 11, verse 30. Make sure that's what we want. Deuteronomy 19 and 9. If thou shalt keep all the commandments to do them, which I command thee this day, to love Yahuwah thy Alahym, and to walk ever in his ways, thou shalt add 3 more cities more for thee, besides these 3. That innocent blood be not shed in thy land, which Yahuwah thy Alahym give thee for an inheritance, and so blood be upon thee. But if any man hate his neighbor, and lie in wait for him, and rise up against him, and smite him mortally that he die, and to flee into one of these cities, then the elders of the city shall send and fetch him thence, and deliver him into the hand of the avenger of blood, that he may die. Thy eye shall not pity him, but thou shalt put away the guilt of innocent blood from Yasharal, that it may go well with thee. Now I want you to sit back and look at it. That blood's got to be shed. Once you shed innocent blood, the land is defiled. The only way to cleanse it is to shed the blood of the murderer. So the land is defiled because Mashiach's blood has not been cleansed. His blood has not been avenged. The blood of his servants have not been avenged. Therefore, the entire land is defiled just off that alone. Do y'all understand that? We ain't talking about committing no sins, no idolatry, no fornication, no adultery. We ain't talking about doing none of that. We talking about simply the fact the land is defiled because this man's blood has not been avenged. Your blood has not been avenged. That's the only way the land can be cleansed, is the blood of the spillers must be spilled. Which goes back to the vision of him seeing that man and that beast that have 4 faces. Because whosoever sheds man's blood, by man his blood must be shed. In the image of Alahym made he him. And do you not know that this Paul told you that you be conformed to the image of the son of Alahym in Romans chapter 8? That when you become Mashiach and you be formed into him by the renewing of the mind, and to become a new man created after true righteousness in Kadesh, that you are now in the image of Alahym, and whosoever shed your blood, this man will come back and shed their blood. That should give you hope to stand on the word, to know that this man will avenge and cleanse their wrath of your blood if these people spill it. Because they're going to come to try to spill it. You know what I'm saying? Deuteronomy 10 and 6. Praise Yahuwah for the word. Deuteronomy 10 and 6. Make it 5. Let's see what it says and tie all this stuff with the water coming out the house and all that good stuff. I turned myself and came down from the mountain and put the tables in the ark which I made, and there they be, as Yahuwah commanded me. And the children of Yasharal took their journey from Beroth of the children of Jachan to Moserah. There Aaron died, and there he was buried. And Eleazar his son ministered in the priest's office in his stead. From thence they journeyed unto Gud-Godoah, and from Gud-Godoah to Jabath, a land of rivers of waters. Now that first city of the Gud-Godoah, that city means slashness. That's what it means. The second city, Jotbath, means pleasantness. Now, why would this make sense for us to sit back and look at the land that is flowing with this land that has this rivers of waters? That it says there means slashness and pleasantness. What does that stir into your brains when you hear this here? Slashness and pleasantness. Anything stirring anybody's brain when you hear that and you thinking upon that? Slashness and pleasantness. Well, let's sit back and look at it. We already read one. When they hit him in his side, he was slashed. He was standing in between. See, you got to sit back and look at it, right? And Yeshayahu 53 and Isaiah 53, it said, please Alahym to bruise him, to make him an offering for sacrifice. So when he's up there on the stake, he's standing in between a land of rivers of waters, between slashness and pleasantness, in the same token. Because he had done became sin and he's outside the camp, so he's dwelling in the wilderness. You know what I'm saying? He's not actually in the land. He's in the wilderness. He's outside the land. He just died. You know what I'm saying? Just like you see Aaron the high priest die. He just died. When he died, they hit him in his side and blood and water comes out. And it was pleasantness in Yahuwah's eyes for this to happen. Let's look at 1 John 5 and 6 for the same purpose. And then we'll look at Leviticus 11 and probably about 32. So when you see this, they coming into this land of rivers of waters. Again, we see waters coming out in Joel. And you see the same waters coming up out of Jerusalem in Zechariah 14. And we have to tie that to another thing in with the law. Because these waters are pleasant. The pleasantness of these waters lead to something. And then we'll also look at Ezekiel 47 when it comes to these waters. 1 John 5 and 6. First John 5 and 6. Make it 5. Just because we need to hear it. Who is he that overcome the world but he that believed that Yahushua is the son of Alahym? This is he that came by water and blood, even Yahushua HaMashiach, not by water only, but by water and blood. And it is the Ruach that bear witness, because the Ruach is truth. For there are three that bear record in Shamaim, the Father, the Word, and the Ruach HaKodesh, and these three are one. And there are three that bear witness in the Aras, the Ruach, the water, and the blood, and these three agree in one. And if we receive the witness of men, the witness of Alahym is greater. For this is the witness of Alahym, which he hath testified of his Son. He that believe on the Son of Alahym hath the witness in himself. He that believed not Alahym hath made him a liar, because he believed not the record that Alahym gave of his Son. And this is the record that Alahym hath given to us, eternal life, and this life is in his Son. Knowing that we sit back and we look at these two cities means slashness and pleasantness, and that they were a land of rivers of waters. You know what I'm saying? This is sitting back looking at, as we look at this land, as you see his death, and the pleasantness in his death is the testimony and record that the Father left of his Son. He left it of his Son for one reason and one reason alone. That you might believe and that you might be saved and be a partaker of that living water. Because he said, he that believe on me, as the scripture has said, out of his belly shall flow rivers of living water. Now, when we're going to sit back and we're going to look at rivers of living water in a minute and try to remember the names of those, meanings of those waters, because we looked at them in time past. But now let's go back and let's look at Leviticus 11 and 32. So you want to be a partakers of these waters, because this is actually talking about the waters that's in Revelation. That's why I told you to remember when he said, if any man thirst, let him come unto me and drink. Because we're going to look at Revelation where he tell you, everyone that's athirst, come drink. The same thing when he sat back and he was on the stake and he said, I thirst. Because he longed for those waters. See, we don't necessarily long for those waters. See, we just like what he said in Jeremiah, we've hewn out cisterns that can't hold no water. See, when you got holes in your vessel, you got sin in your vessel, you got holes in your vessel, you can't keep the Ruach in you, you can't keep the word in you. That's why you'll do what they did in John chapter 6 and walk away. Leviticus 11 and 32. Listen what he says. I'll start at 29. That ain't gonna hurt me. These things shall be unclean unto you. And among the creeping things that creep upon their rats, the weasel and the mouse and the tortoise after his kind. Why anybody will want to eat a weasel and a mouse, I do not know. And the ferret and the chameleon and the lizard and the snail and the mole. These are unclean to you among all that creep. Whosoever doth touch them when they be dead shall be unclean unto the even. So don't think that we just come here just to look at this stuff like, oh, this is the dietary law while we're looking at this. This is not what we're here for. But just notice that you don't touch your old dead weasel, dead mouse, or dead lizard. Now you're unclean now. And upon whatsoever any of them when they are dead doth fall, it shall be unclean. Whether it be any vessel of wood, or raiment, or skin, or sack, whatsoever vessel it be wherein any work is done, it must be put into water, and it shall be unclean unto the even, so shall it be cleansed. And every earthen vessel whereunto any of them fall, whatsoever is in it shall be unclean, and ye shall break it. Of all meat which may be eaten, that on which such water comes shall be unclean, and all that drink may be drunk, and every such vessel shall be unclean. And everything whereupon any part of the carcass falls shall be unclean, whether it be oven or ranges, for pots, they shall be broken down, for they are unclean, and shall be unclean unto you. Nevertheless, a fountain or pit wherein there is plenty water shall be clean, but that which touch their carcass shall be unclean. Gentlemen, what do you think about what we just heard? I want to see if any of you gentlemen got any idea of what this could be talking about, what we just heard. Don't everybody answer at once. Anybody got any idea of what this could mean or what we just heard?
Yeah, when the master spilled the seed, he became unclean by the water that left him. Therefore, they wouldn't allow to touch him.
Absolutely. But let's look at something else, though. That is correct. Let's look at something else, though, right? When we turn around and we look at verse 33, right? Matter of fact, verse 32. It says, upon whatsoever any of them where they are dead doth fall, it shall be unclean. Say, whether it be a vessel of wood or raiment or skin or sack, whatsoever vessel it be wherein any work is done. Any vessel where any work is done, it must be put into water. It shall be unclean unto the evening. So shall it be cleansed. What y'all think that could be talking about? We take it verse by verse. What you think that could mean? Listen to him now. He said, if anybody touch any of these dead things, whether it be any vessel of any sort of time, it doesn't matter, wood, raiment, skin, or sack, whatever vessel it be that any work is done, you got to put it in water so it can be cleansed. What y'all think that could mean? Let's look and see. Go ahead. Absolutely.
Putting your hands towards dead work, so therefore you have to be cleansed so that your work may not be clean, because the works that you were doing before in your vessels was dead works.
Yeah, exactly. Let's look at that. 2 Timothy chapter 2, verse 20. We'll read verse 19. I want y'all to get in this order. 2 Timothy chapter 2, verse 19. Hebrews chapter 9 and verse 14. Ephesians chapter 2 and verse 5. And that'll go for now. 2 Timothy 2 and 19. Listen what he says. Nevertheless, the foundation of Alahym stands sure, having this seal, the master know them that are his. And let every one that nameth the Mashiach depart from iniquity. But in a great house there are not only vessels of gold and silver, also water and the rest. Some to honor and some to dishonor. If a man therefore purge himself from these, he shall be a vessel unto honor, sanctified, meet for the master's use, and prepared unto every good work. Do you notice that it said that these vessels had to be cleansed before you could use them again? They'd be unclean to the eating. I can't use them right now. Now also sit back and you think about this here, right? You were a vessel which Yahuwah couldn't be used until the even when this man rose from the dead. I can't use you right now. You're unclean. You know what I'm saying? Something has to cleanse you. Matter of fact, I'm going to wait. I'm going to just wait. What did I just mention? 2 Timothy 2 and 20. What's the other thing I just mentioned, man? Ephesians 2 and 5. I know I'm missing one, but we'll get to it in a second. You know, Paul told you that let's cleanse ourselves from all the filthiness of the flesh and Ruach, and serving Kadeshness in the fear of Alahym. That's what we need to sit back and realize. Let us do that. Let us do that. We'll read verse 3 though. Matter of fact, look at verse 1. Remember he said, because we talking about the quickening, right? We started right there. We were talking about the understanding, the quickening and making alive. And how he said that the words that I speak unto you are Ruach and are life. And out of his belly shall flow rivers of living water. So this would cleanse you. How can a young man cleanse his way? By taking heed according to thy word. He said you've been washed by the washing of water and by the word. That you should be without spot, wrinkle, or blemish, or any such thing, or to be made cleansed. He said you are now clean from the word that I have spoken unto you. He told Paul in Acts chapter 22, he said, stand up and do what? Wash away thy sins. So what we're actually looking at in twofold type of thing in this Leviticus chapter 11 is the blood of Mashiach washing away your sins. Well, we can read that in Revelation chapter 1. And immersion. And immersion. But let's look at Ephesians 2 and 1 though. And you have he quickened who were dead in trespasses and sins. Because when you touch this dead creature, you unclean. All uncleanliness is death. Nothing unclean can come close to Yahuwah. The law say you would die if you approached Yahuwah in your uncleanliness. Remember, we dealt with that in that Leviticus of all the things that would cause you not to be able to approach. You cannot approach to Yahuwah in an unclean state. Wherein in time past ye walked according to the course of this world, according to the prince of the power of the air, the Ruach that now work in the children of disobedience. Among whom also we all had our behavior in time past in the lust of our flesh, fulfilling the desires of our flesh and of the mind, and were by nature the children of wrath, even as others. See, when we say the sons of wrath, that's what we were looking at with that fire coming down on these people. And this man working his wrath, because we were all once those who were deemed for that wrath and destruction because of our uncleanness. This man came and laid his life down to remove that uncleanness from you, that you could be able to walk with him and be saved. When we were talking about those that have followed the Ruach, those that are led by the Ruach are the sons of Alahym. You got to follow the word to become a son of Alahym. He said the steps of a good man are ordered by Yahuwah. That means just like we mentioned right, he said though he fall, he'll rise again. You got to go in the grave. That's the whole point. If he sit back and say, right, he that believe and is immersed shall be saved. That means this man is leading you to die. You know what I'm saying? He's leading you to die to self. He that save his life shall lose it. He that loses life shall gain it. Sacrifice. Sacrifice. Going back to that ox. Sacrifice. Give yourself up. But Alahym, who was rich in mercy for his great love wherewith he loved us, even when we were dead in sins, have quickened us together with Mashiach. By favor ye are saved. Don't you realize the washing of that pot and being unclean to the even is Mashiach's blood washing you from your sins? Look at Revelation 1 and 3. Washing you from your sins. It was another epistle. I can't remember what I said. Y'all will come back. Revelation 1 and 4, actually. We got to get to the point at 10:30. It's time to get ready to round on home. Yakanan to the 7 houses which are in Asia, favor be unto you and shalom. From him which is and which was and which is to come, from the 7 Ruachs which are before his throne. And from Yahushua HaMashiach, who is the faithful witness, and the first begotten of the dead, and the prince of the kings of the Arats, unto him that loved us and washed us from our sins in his own blood. So you sit back and you look at it, right? It said no matter what vessel it was. No matter what vessel it was. He said whether it be skin, whether it be wood, whether it be raiment, whether it be sack, that once it's washed, It'd be unclean to the even. And you have to sit back and realize when they hit that man with that blood and water that came up out of his body, it was dark from the 6th hour to the 9th hour. And then at that particular time, after he done shed this blood and water to cleanse this wood and this raiment and this vessel of the earth, all these vessels, that's when the sun was going down because the Shabbat was coming in to make you a clean vessel, to make you new, to regenerate you, to give you a new heart and a new Ruach. We have to understand this. Come on back to Leviticus chapter 11. We have to understand the work that's being done and what the regenerative powers of these living waters would do. The word is supposed to wash your inward parts. You know, we talked about that when we were talking about washing the sacrifices, and that it was really talking about cleaning the inwards. It was really talking about your heart. If you want to be a partaker of these living waters that bring forth life to all those that drink of it, he said, if a man drink of this water, they'll never thirst. Then you got to wash your inward parts. See, that's what a lot of people don't do. They hear the word, they listen to the word, they ain't wash their inward parts. They ain't wash your inward part because you really don't believe. Look at verse 33. Listen what it says. And every earthen vessel whereunto any of them fall, whatsoever is in it shall be unclean, ye shall break it. You know, the master told you, he said, whoever this stone fall on, it shall grind him to powder. So when you sit back and you look at any vessel that falls, that man said you're going to have to break that. Let's look in Hebrew, see what he means when he say break that. You're going to have to break that. You're going to have to break it. Let's see what he wants you to do when he say you're going to have to break it. It shouldn't be that hard to ascertain what you would think it would be. It says shabar, to break into pieces, to break in or down, to rend violently, to wreck or to crush, to break, to be maimed, to shatter, to break. But not only that, but to cause to break out and to bring forth and to be broken, to be shattered. But the key thing, it says it has to be broken in or down. Now, what do you think this would mean to say it's got to be broken in or down? Well, this is basically telling you that any vessel that is unclean, you're going to have to die. You're going to have to destroy yourself. You're going to have to destroy that whole carnal mind in a bit. See, look at John chapter 3 and verse 3. This is all this is telling you. If you want to be a partaker of the gift of Alahym, this is what has to be done. He said he gave them power to become the sons of Alahym, all those that believe on his name. And they were not born by the will of the flesh, nor by the will of men, but by the will of Alahym. That's how you're going to become a son of Alahym. You got to be broken down. You got to be destroyed. Or on top of that, you must be humbled. He that humbleth himself shall be exalted. You know, it says that in Philippians chapter 2, right? That the man humbled himself even unto death, even the death of the state. And he was exalted to give it a name above all names. So that's what's going to happen if you sit back and say any vessel which is of the earth that's deemed to be unclean, it has to be destroyed. The body of sin must be destroyed. It must be consumed. John 3 and 3. Yahushua answered and said unto them, truly, truly, I say unto thee, except a man be born again, he cannot see the kingdom of Alahym. Nicodemus saith unto him, how can a man be born when he is old? Can he enter into a second time into his mother's womb and be born? Yahushua answered, truly, truly, I say unto thee, except a man be born of water and of the Ruach, he cannot enter into the kingdom of Alahym. That which is born of the flesh is flesh, and that which is born of the Ruach is Ruach. Marvel not that I said unto thee, ye must be born again. You're going to have to destroy that flesh and be born of the Ruach. See, look at Romans chapter 6, right? What about Romans 6 and 7, maybe 6 and 9, something like that. 6 and 6. Knowing this, that our old man is crucified with him, that the body of sin might be destroyed, that henceforth we should not serve sin. For he that is dead is freed from sin. Now if we be dead with Mashiach, we believe that we shall also live with him. Knowing that Mashiach, being raised from the dead, died no more, death have no more dominion over him. So in order for this uncleanliness to no longer have dominion over you, that vessel has to be broken. You got to destroy it. You got to kill it. You got to tear it down. You know what I'm saying? Now, them 5%ers got a little saying. I think it's the number 8 that they use. The number 8 symbolizes to build and destroy. You know, everybody talks about how they want to be built up. They want to be built up. But in order for a building to be built up, you have to destroy the old. This also goes back to when Mashiach say, destroy this temple and I'll raise it up again in 3 days. Because he said that same earthen vessel, he had to break it. He had to destroy it. See, that's the process that nobody wants to go through when they want to be built up. They don't want to be destroyed first. And that destroying process does not feel good because all the ugliness that is within you has to be shown straight to your face. And nobody wants to look in that mirror and see that. So it seems that people are being harsh and mean to them. And you're tearing me down, but you're not building me up. People be building you back up, but you only focus on the part of being torn down. And that's only because this society has made people ultra sensitive. You know what I'm saying? Ultra sensitive. In order to be built up, you have to be torn down. You don't get built up and then torn down. There's no process. When you look at them destroy a building and rebuild it, they nuke the whole thing, man. They blow the whole thing up. Dynamite, tear it down, wrecking ball, whatever the case may be, they tear it up. They don't worry about it being a nice way of tearing that building down or make it look real pretty. Just destroy the whole thing. Just get it out of here, wreck it. Just wreck the whole thing. But when they take the time to lay a new foundation and lay the framing and all that there, they take their time and they do it with care. But that first ounce of it, it's going to be rough and it's going to hurt. You know what I'm saying? It's going to hurt. The tearing down process does not feel good. And anybody who's going to be saved has to go through it. You know what I'm saying? But you're going to have to be able to take it like a soldier. If you don't take it like a soldier, you're not going to be able to get through it. The build-up process is not going to happen because you're not all the way going to be torn down because you don't want to be torn down. You only want to remove the pieces that are easy for you to tear down and not the pieces that need to be blown up. It's not nothing to kick a door in or break some windows. You know what I'm saying? Like you take an example, right? They demoed the World Trade Center. Everybody know that. That was demolition. You know what I'm saying? You weren't going to tear that building down just by throwing some rocks at it. You know what I'm saying? Generally kicking it. There had to be a strategic plan of lasing explosives up in this entire building to take it down. It wasn't going to be something easy. It wasn't going to be something delicate. It was going to be some mass destruction. And in order to be saved, there has to be some mass destruction of deconstructing and tearing down every false, wicked, and evil way that exists within a man in order that he might be built up into the image of the son of Alahym. I mean, you got to get Hashatan up out of you. You got to get the flesh up out of you. You got to get the world up out of you. That's not going to be pretty. Leviticus chapter 11. Leviticus 11:35. 34 is actually what it is. And of all the meat which may be eaten, that on which such water comes shall be unclean, and all drink that they may be drunk, and every such vessel shall be unclean. And everything whereupon any part of their carcass falls shall be unclean, whether it be oven or ranges or pots, and they shall be broken down, for they are unclean, and they shall be unclean unto you. Now let me look at that. These ranges and pots and all this good old stuff right there. These ranges and these pots. It's a beautiful thing how the work of salvation can be found in so many different places in the Word that you wouldn't even think that the plan of salvation would be found. When we have oven, it is tanor. And it's literally a furnace, an oven, a fire pot, or a portable stove for cooking. It's Alahym's wrath of hunger or desire for evil. And when we look at ranges, that is Kurt, and that's another stove, range, or cooking furnace. Then also the last one we have is pots. And those pots It's nathats. And it means to pull down, to break down, to cast down, to throw down, to beat down, to destroy, to overthrow, and to break out. To be pulled or broken down, to break down or break off, to be broken. Because that whole sentence is leading to the pots. They shall be broken down. That's why we see that. So when we look at these ranges and these ovens, what does that take us to again? That is the furnace of affliction, or the purging, or the refining of a man. And when we see this, it said that everything that's unclean, whether it be the oven or range, has got to be broken down. Their uncleanness shall be unclean unto you. You know, it's like a refiner's fire. You know what I'm saying? That fire gets all those impurities up out of you. And we have to break all this stuff down and purge this stuff up out of you. And we need to have to keep this in mind. There are people that were born to be saved. We know this. We done went through this here. We went through that in Psalms 139. All my members are written in that book. Do you know what I'm saying? There are people that were born to be saved. That's what they were born for that purpose. There were people that were born to go to hell. So when we turn around and we look at this here, if it's in us to be saved, then you will do the things necessary to remove the things of ungodliness up out of you, to go through that fire, to be purged, and to get rid of it. But nevertheless, let's read verse 36 and listen what he says in Leviticus chapter 11. Because that's really what we came here for. We just attached all this other stuff with it. But let's look at verse 36 and listen what he says. Nevertheless, a fountain or pit where there is plenty of water shall be clean, but that which touch their carcass shall be unclean. Zechariah 13:1. He said, wherever there's a fountain or pit that's got plenty of water, he said that'll be clean. He said, but if it touch the carcass though, that's going to be unclean. Zechariah 13:1. We're finna get ready to wrap it up in a minute anyway. Zechariah 13:1. Zechariah 13:1. And it says, in that day there shall be a fountain open to the house of Daud and to the inhabitants of Jerusalem for sin and for uncleanness. And it shall come to pass in that day, saith Yahuwah of hosts, that I will cut off the names of the idols out of the land, and they shall be no more remembered. And also I will cause the prophets of the unclean Ruach to pass out of the land. Let's look at Luke chapter 24:1. He said, I'll open up a fountain for sin and uncleanness. He said, in that day I'll cause the unclean spirits and the prophets to pass out of the land. See, that's two different things right there. That's the beast and the false prophet. I got to get him out of the land. I'm going to toss him in the lake of fire. I'm going to burn him. This goes along to what we looked at in Isaiah 27 about 2 weeks ago. I'll burn him in the same place. You know what I'm saying? I grab hold to him, I'm going to burn him. But that's another matter though. We just read that just for you to hear that. But listen what it said, man. It said, he'll open a fountain in Jerusalem for sin and uncleanness. And that everything that come on it will be cleansed. And the reason why we're looking at this here, because when we swing to Ezekiel 47, this is also again the thing to remove sin and uncleanness. But not the sin that anybody of the Kadeshim that they committed. Because of course we know anyone who Mashiach come to grab is not committing any sin. But we're talking about the removing of death. That uncleanness. Because that's another reason why flesh and blood cannot inherit the kingdom of Shamahin. Because flesh and blood must die. And therefore that will bring uncleanliness into the camp. And all uncleanliness must be removed from the camp. So to be able to get around that problem, I give you a new body. A body made like unto Yahushua HaMashiach's esteemed body. And therefore I would never have any reason nor need to move you outside the camp. But I need to have a fountain, a pit that's got plenty of water in it. That whoever, you know what I'm saying, that it be clean. That's another mention what Troy just mentioned, which we're not going to read it. That's another reason when we read this Luke 24:1, when he came up out of there, that he told Mary not to touch him. Because I got plenty of water in me, but if you touch me, you're going to be unclean, so you can't do it. 24:1. Now upon the first day of the week, very early in the morning, they came unto the sepulchre, bringing the spices wherein they had prepared, and certain others with them. And they found a stone rolled away from the sepulchre. And they entered in and found not the body of the master Yahushua. He said, there be a fountain of pit with plenty of water in it, because we already read that Romans chapter 8. He said it was the Ruach that raised Mashiach up from the grave. So there was plenty of water in that fountain. Even though, just like I say, Joseph, he said he came into the pit where there is no water. Same thing Zechariah told you. But when he put that Ruach on him on the third day, it was plenty of water in him. See, he told that woman in John chapter 4, he told her plain today. He said, man, anybody drinking this water, they'll never thirst. She said, the well is deep, wherefore you have to draw. He said, look at baby. You get this water right here, you ain't never going to thirst. Any man drinking this right here. That's what you got to sit back and look at. That's why they were walking through a land, and the land of slashness and pleasantness, a land that had rivers of waters, which should make you think about a particular place. Where there was a fountain and a pit. Well, not necessarily a pit, but a land full of living water. The recreation of the paradise of Alahym. But when we look at this fountain, the pit, that has plenty of water, we're looking at there's plenty of Ruach. There's life for everyone to receive who wants to receive it. It has to be in your heart to go after it and go get it. And that should be your hope. Because he said, I got plenty. He said, it's your father's good pleasure to give you the kingdom. It's his good pleasure to give it to you. He said he want to give you gifts. But he said, if you ain't been faithful over another man, how can another man's goods, how can Alahym give you what is yours? This man want to give you the Ruach. He want to give you the kingdom. He wants to give it to you. But do you want it? I can't recall the verse where the master said that man, I think it's Matthew 25. If not, it might be Luke chapter 12. But it's the Father's good pleasure to give you the kingdom. Y'all do know that, right? Y'all all aware of that. It's his good pleasure to give it to you. It's his desire to place it into your hand. It's his desire to give you the Ruach. This man said, I have no pleasure in the death of him that died, but to turn yourselves and live. Do you not understand that there? Does that register in our brains? Luke chapter 12 and about verse 30. I know it was Luke. I just want y'all to hear the master tell y'all this, man. It's his good pleasure. It's this man's pleasure to give you this. Say, for all these things do the nations of the world seek after. And your Father know that you have need of these things. But rather seek ye the kingdom of Alahym, and all these things shall be added unto you. Fear not, little flock, for it is your Father's good pleasure to give you the kingdom. Remember what he said now in Ezekiel. He delights when a man repents, that he might give him the works of his righteousness for his repentance. It's the Father's will to give you these things. The Father wants you to drink of these waters. That's what he made him for. He said, draw ye waters out of the well of salvation. That's what he drew it. That's what he dug it for. So you could have it. Genesis chapter 2, man, about verse 14. Actually, Genesis 2 and 10. Genesis 2 and 10. And a river went out of Eden to water the garden. And from thence it was parted and became into 4 heads. And the name of the first is Pison. That is it which compassed the whole land of Havilah, where there is gold. Now, we went over this once before. Let's look at what Pison means. It means to increase. He's saying in that place there's gold, and the gold of that land is good, and there is bdellium in the onyx stone. Well, we know the trial of your faith is more precious than gold. And the master said that he has riches, even durable riches, that you should buy from him gold tried in the fire, that you might be rich. So in the place of increase, or the place of blessings, there is the Ruach HaKodesh, or the treasure. So we have this treasure in earthen vessels. The name of the second river is Gihon, and the same that encompassed the whole land of Ethiopia. And when we look at Gihon, it's busting forth. And we know that this man bust, and we're looking at out of the house, it's busting forth water. We read that in Joel chapter 3, we read that in Zechariah 14, and soon we're going to read that in Ezekiel 47. And the name of the third river is the Decal, that is which go towards the east of Assyria. And the fourth river is the Euphrates. So we have a blessing that busts forth. And we look at how daily comes rapidly. And the fourth river is the Euphrates, which is for us, which is paraph, which is fruitfulness. So we know we have the blessing that busts forth rapidly, bringing forth fruit. So when we look at all of these things and we see the same thing, remember we looked at, he said he'll judge a man, every vessel his work. He said he'll judge every man according to his work shall be. Every man is going to be rendered his work, whether it be good or bad, what he's done in his body. But then you sit back and you look at these waters busting forth out of this place. The same thing that's coming up out of Jerusalem. Remember the master told you in Revelation 22, behold, I come quickly. So that fruitfulness of that increase is going to bust forth quickly or rapidly. Come faster than you could even believe. It's going to come faster than you could even believe. Because to us it's not moving fast because we've seen about it in man's time. But in Yahuwah's time it's going to bust forth very rapidly. Let's look at Ezekiel chapter 47 verse 1. What we sit back looking at, you look at busting out of the Garden of Eden. And these rivers flowing, basically flowing up out of the house of Alahym. Because we know Eden means pleasure. This is the house of Alahym, where these rivers are busting forth out of. The same way that the waters is busting forth in Zechariah and Joel. And if Eden means pleased or pleasant, and the Father said in Matthew 17, this is my beloved Son in whom I'm well pleased, then Eden is representative of the Son, and those rivers coming up out of that place is representative of the living waters coming up out of the house. The same waters you've seen coming in Joel and the same waters you've seen in Zechariah, and it says that Yahuwah is there in Joel and Zechariah. Now we're going to see the same thing in Ezekiel 47. This will give you hope of the eternal life to dwell with your Alahym forever if you just endure and break yourself down to be rebuilt in the image of Mashiach, that you will not be a partaker of her plagues when he hit that place with fire, like we read in Ezekiel chapter 10. Because that's going to go into that gathering by that eagle, and also the covering of your sins with that ox, and the covering of your sins that we read about the wings, and also the being knit together with Mashiach with those wings, and also being led by the Ruach like we read in Ezekiel chapter 1, where you won't be a partaker of that wrath, you'll be able to be a partaker of that water. Ezekiel 47:1. Listen to what he says. And he brought me again unto the door of the house. We know Mashiach is the door. He brought him to Mashiach. And behold, waters issued out from the threshold of the house eastward, for the forefront of the house stood towards the east. Again, he said the forefront of the house, or the front of the house, is towards the east. We already dealt in Ezekiel 43 that Mashiach was coming through the east gate. We read this evening that the Mount of Olives is on the east gate and waters are flooding out. That means he is resurrecting his people from the dead. Pay attention to what's going on. For the forefront of the house stood towards the east, and the waters came down from under the right side of the house at the south side of the altar. And they brought me out of the way of the gate northward, and led me about the way unto the other gate by the way that looked eastward, and behold, there ran waters on the right side. Just where they hit him at. Representative of the house pouring out living waters upon his people. Listen what's going on now. And when the man that had the line in his hand went forth eastward, he measured 1,000 cubits. And he brought me through the waters, and the waters were to the ankles. And he measured 1,000 and brought me through the waters, and the waters were to the knees. And again he measured 1,000, and he brought me through, the waters were to the loins. And afterwards he measured 1,000. It was a river that I could not pass over, for the waters was risen, waters to swim in, a river that could not be passed over. And he said unto me, Son of man, thou hast seen this. Then he brought me and caused me to return to the brink of the river. Now when I returned, behold, at the bank of the river there were many trees on the one side and on the other. Just like we didn't read it though, but just like in the Garden of Eden, there were many trees surrounding this water. Then he said unto me, these waters issue out towards the east country and go down into the desert. Just like we read in Deuteronomy 10, that they were passing through that desert of slashness and pleasantness. Because in order for that water to come out the right side of that house, he had to be slashed. And those two cities were in the wilderness where they traveled. And he said unto me, these waters issued out towards the east country, go down into the desert and go into the sea, which being brought forth into the sea, the water shall be healed. Shall come to pass that everything that live, which move, wheresoever the river shall come, shall live. And there shall be a very great multitude of fish, because these waters shall come thither, for they shall be healed. And everything shall live whither the river come. Now we also know, for the time's sake, because we're finna wrap this down, the master told Peter them that he would become a fisher of men. And that the seas are also representative of the people, according to Revelation 17 and Jeremiah chapter 50 or 51, 1 or 2. So when we see these here talking about every living thing that move, the river shall come and they shall live, a very great multitude of fish, the water shall come hither, they shall be healed. Everyone that dwells in Mashiach, that dwells in him, or dwells in that sea, or dwells in that blood, or dwells in that water, they will be healed. Going about what we were talking about the other day in Jeremiah 33, he'll give you the heal and the cure, and will reveal the abundance of shalom unto you. He will reveal his son unto you. But let's look at the next thing of what this city that is named in verse 10. It shall come to pass, fishes shall stand upon it from Engedi, even unto En Egalim, and they shall be a place to spread forth nets. Their fish shall be according to their kinds, as the fish of the great sea, in exceeding many. Hold on now. Because he's telling us something with this here. That's that Revelation 7 and 9 with fish exceeding many, and fish after their own kind. Because they got to be just like Mashiach. They got to become the sons of Alahym. They're being led by the Ruach. Because they're in the seas. Those that are led by the Ruach are the sons of Alahym. That's what you're looking at. Let's pull the names of these two cities, though. We have a fount of the kid. Is the name of En-Gedi. The fount of the kid. And En-Galim is a fountain of the two calves. So you have the fount of two calves and a kid or a goat. The fountain of the goat. And that should take you, if you think about the goat, what y'all think about when you think about the goat? We've been talking about the calves. What should come to your mind when you hear a fount of a kid or a fount of a goat? Well, if y'all ain't got nothing to come to mind, the first thing that should come to your mind is Leviticus the 16th chapter. With the goat that is offered for the Day of Atonement and the scapegoat. So again, this is referring to Mashiach again in his sacrifice. The same thing with the calves. And this was a place that was found in the wilderness. And when you're looking at spreading forth the nets, like I said, I'm not finna read this at 11 o'clock. I'll finna get ready to let y'all go. When they say fish according to their kinds, that should take you back to he brings forth fruit after his kind in Genesis chapter 1. And that he will only repeat, say, it's written in your law that ye are gods. He gives you the power to become sons of Alahym, so you shall be like him. The servant is not above his master, neither the disciple above his servant. Let's look at Luke 6 and 40, because I just done messed the whole thing. Luke 6 and 4. When he tell you there's going to be fish after his kind, look at what he tell you now. The disciple is not above his master, but everyone that is perfect shall be as his master. Peter told you not to be born of corruptible seed, but of incorruptible by the word of Alahym, being born again. So you will be like the Son. You'll have a mind like him. You'll have a heart like him. You'll have a Ruach like him. You'll be a fish after his kind that is caught in his net, which is going back to him gathering up his people. You know, he told you that in Matthew chapter 13. He told you that in Matthew chapter 13. That the kingdom of Alahym is like a man who put his net into the sea and gathered fish of all kinds, and he kept the good and tossed the bad away. Let's look at verse 11 and let's see if he say that. He say, but the miry places thereof and the marshes thereof shall not be healed. They shall be given unto salt. When we look in Hebrew at a miry place, it's a swamp or a marsh, right? It's bitzah. You know what I'm saying? It's a dark place. Swamps and marshes are a dark place. You can't see nothing at the bottom of those. He said they won't be healed. When we look at marshes, it's a cistern or a pool, and it is gavah. So they won't be healed. Sinners will not be healed. The wicked will not be healed. Unrepentance will not be healed. They'll be made for the salt. Let's look at Luke 14, what he said about that salt. Luke 14 and 34. Luke 14 and 33. So likewise, whosoever be of you that forsake not all that he have, he cannot be my disciple. Salt is good, but if the salt have lost its savor, wherewith shall it be seasoned? It is neither fit for the land nor yet for the dunghill, but men cast it out. He that have ears to hear, let him hear. He said those miry places is for the salt. I'm going to get rid of you. I'm going to toss you out. I'm going to toss you out. You will be rejected. You will be rejected. Let's go back in Ezekiel 47. Verse 12. And by the river upon the bank thereof, on this side and on that side, shall grow all trees for meat, whose leaf shall not fade, neither shall the fruit thereof be consumed. It shall bring forth new fruit according to his months, because their waters they issued out of the sanctuary. And the fruit thereof shall be for meat, and the leaf thereof for medicine. So as you continually see, right, let me put this. When we look at the increase that busts forth rapidly for fruitfulness, we begin to see this with Mashiach, as he said, the waters coming out of the sanctuary. Just like Joel said, just like Zechariah said, that's what we see. That's what we see. We see him watering us with eternal life. That's why he said, he that believe on me, as the scripture has said, out of his belly shall flow rivers of living water. This man is showing forth living waters coming around and surrounding Jerusalem, which he told you in Isaiah that Jerusalem shall be like the Garden of Eden or the paradise of Alahym. So let's look at something when it comes to that. Revelation 2 and about verse, I think it's about verse 5. It might be verse 8. And then we'll look in Revelation 22 and just say that it's over with from there. Revelation 2 and 7. 2 and 7. He that have an ear, let him hear what the Ruach saith unto the houses. To him that overcome will I give to eat of the tree of the life, which is in the midst of the paradise of Alahym. In the midst of the paradise of Alahym is also that sanctuary where them living waters issue out. These living waters which we should all be seeking to drink. Revelation chapter 22. 22 and 1. And he showed me a pure river of water of life, clear as crystal, proceeding out of the throne of Alahym and of the Lamb. Again, the waters issuing out of the sanctuary. Going through that place of slashness and pleasantness. Slashness because the sun was slashed, and pleasantness because Alahym is there. And this land is a land of rivers. Rivers of waters. Waters are the same fountain that if a man at that fountain and pit will be clean. Say whoever touches carcass will be unclean, but that fountain and pit will be clean. You know what I'm saying? But if we get to be able to partake of those waters, then we could be clean. Our desires to be clean. Look at verse 6. And And he said unto me, these sayings are faithful and true. Yahuwah Alahym of the Kadesh prophet sent his Malachim to show unto his servants the things which must shortly be done. Behold, I come quickly. Blessed is he that keep the sayings of the prophets of this book. And I, Yachanan, saw these things and heard them. And when I heard and seen, I fell down and to worship before the feet of the Malachim, which showed me these things. Then saith he unto me, see thou do it not, for I am thy fellow servant of thy brethren, the prophets, and of them which keep the sayings of this book, worship Alahym. And he saith unto me, seal not the sayings of the prophets of this book, for the time is at hand. He that is unjust, let him be unjust still. He that is filthy, let him be filthy still. He that is righteous, let him be righteous still. He that is Kadash, let him be Kadash still. And behold, I come quickly, and my reward is with me, to give every man according to his work shall be. I am the Aleph and the Tau, the beginning and the end, the first and the last. Blessed are they that do his commandments, that they may have right to the tree of life, that they may enter in through the gates into the city. For without are dogs, and sorcerers, and whoremongers, and murderers, and idolaters, and whosoever love and make a lie. I, Yahushua, have sent my Malachim to testify unto you these things in the houses. I am the root and offspring of Daoud, and the bright and morning star. And the Ruach and the bride say, come. Let him that hears say, come. And let him that is athirst come. And whosoever will, let him take the water of life freely. The man sat back and said, it's his good pleasure to give you the kingdom. And if you so desire to save your soul, come get this water free. Because he said, come you buy ye wine and milk without price. So hallelujah for Yahushua and the word. We start right at 10 tomorrow. We start right at, oh my good, my kneecap.